Yo, YouTube in the building, man. What's good? What's good? We are live after a devastating meltdown to the Dallas Cowgirls. Come in, took over our city, took over our stadium, dominated our team like they were. We won't go that far, but man, you know how it is. Just a horrible loss, horrible loss. Shout out to the people in the building. Chris, what do you do? Trixie Blue in the building, man. What's good? What's good? Let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me, if everything's good before I just start rambling on about this nonsense that we have in the building. Um, but shout out to everybody in here. Smelly Cat, what's good? What's good? Clean your kitty. So yeah, man. The Raiders lose in devastating fashion. Um, it's the Bills live stream. What? Is this the Bills live stream? Nah, bro, you in the wrong one. Um, Click the link below. I don't know, bro. I don't know. No, this is not. This is not a Bills live stream. But I wish we had the record the Buffalo Bills did. You know what I'm saying? Uh, man, yeah. Again, not a great game. We got a special guest that's supposed to be up to talk football, talk Pete Carroll, talk Chip Kelly. You know what he's hearing, what he's seeing. My guy from Ramble, Alex Monfrida, will be on here in a bit, probably about 30 minutes or so. He's just wrapping up some things on his end, and then he will possibly pop on. If not, I'll hold it down like we always do on the show. So look forward to that. It'll be here in a little bit. Like I said, we're going to talk, Gino. We're going to talk everything. Ashton Genty, a guy, I had him on the show before, and we both had, way higher numbers than what Ashton Genty is producing right now at the moment. It's not good, bro. It's not good. If you're on the Gino train, right? If you think Gino needs to go, Gino needs to be benched. Can I get a hashtag Geno, GEN with as many O's as you can put, man. Put it in the hashtags. I was going to do a poll before I popped in, but I didn't have time. And I don't know how to do it on this damn thing. You have to do it on the computer, on YouTube. But if you believe Geno should be benched, that this is the final straw, man, that it is time for, I don't care, Cam Miller, Kenny Pickett, Aiden O'Connell, hell, bring back Jacoby damn Myers from Jacksonville and let him throw the damn football. Whoever it is has to be better than Geno. I mean, shit, Pete Carroll, 74-year ass, could suit up right now and do better than what Geno Smith has been doing. I don't want to hear about the offensive line. I don't want to hear about the running game. I don't want to hear it. This quarterback has been nothing but horrible since the day he stepped in the building. We got lucky to beat the Patriots. We had a second half where they had no film on us, right? The only reason we beat the Patriots is they had no film. They had nothing. All they knew is a couple preseason games that, we didn't show any of our cards in preseason. So once team got film on us, come on, man, we haven't had a chance. They know what we're running on offense. They pick apart our defense. They find every little square and triangle in the cover three that you could possibly find to have a big play, and they own it, and they own it consistently. So not only does Geno, shout out for the Genos, not only does Geno need to be benched, man, but Pete Carroll, it's time to move on. Where are we going with this Pete Carroll thing? 74 years old, bro. 74 years old. There's no future in it. He's not going to be any better next year. He's not going to be any better the year before. He has told us everything he believes in every single press conference. And if anybody in that building or in Raider Nation believes anything that Pete Carroll says is worthy of keeping him around another second in that locker room, then y'all should just turn in your Raider cards and not be Raider fans, because this is the problem with this damn team, bro, is everybody thinks this is the problem. This is the problem. When the damn problem is obvious, it's been in our face, smacking us around like, dead fish in a trash can that somebody forgot to throw away, bro. It's stinking. It's dead. It's old. And it's obvious as hell. This dude comes up here week in and week out, 4 times a week. Come on, can we stop the press conferences? 4 times a week, this man comes up there and talks about, oh God, Gino was so good. Did you not see him? G did this and G did that and G did this, and the interception was a tip ball that he threw into 4 flipping guys. Somebody was going to tip it. There was no way Brock Bowers was catching that ball, even if he was turned into Inspector Gadget and got some go-go gadget legs. No way in hell. So, it's time, bro. It's time. Content creators, hit me up, bro. Let's get together. Let's start something. I don't know, a GoFundMe to pay Gino's tab or some shit to get him out the building with Pete Carroll. I mean, maybe that 15 mil is just going to kill Mark Davis, and he might have to eat top ramen for a couple years, but it's worth it, man. It's worth paying another coach to just go, bro. It's not working. The dude's going to stand up there on his interview and say, this is my team. This is my team. Bro, come on. That tells me right there, every decision that has been made has been Pete Carroll. Every person that has left the building and every person that has been brought in the building has been Pete Carroll. He said it clear as day. This is my team. When are we going to wake up as a fan base and stop being like, oh, but we need consistency. We need somebody to stick around. Come on, man. We need consistency with the right coach. You don't just put a guy and leave him. Like, you can't hire a framer to build a house, and the dude has no idea how to read a framing square, how to lay out shit, how to read a damn blueprint. But he just goes up there and starts nailing 2x4s together and just starts piecing them together like a puzzle. And you just keep him on because for what? For what? Because he's under contract? Because you signed a contract with the guy? Because you're paying him too much money? Hell no. The dude gets the boot. We seen the Dallas Cowboys bench Kenny Pickett, not Kenny Pickett, George Pickens, and DK Metcalf, right? Not DK Metcalf. Jesus Christ, and CD Lamb. They benched both of their star receivers the beginning of the game. They sat out. Why hasn't Gino been benched? Why hasn't Gino sat out? The only time Gino has left the game is when he got a thigh bruise. Come on, man. This shit is garbage. We have to do something. And if everybody's still on the same page as Pete Carroll saying, oh, well, Gino played well, it's the offensive line. That's why he's still in the building, man. If everybody would just, dude, go watch the All 22, man. I'll give you my passcode. I'll give you my code. Go watch it. If you don't have it, you can't afford it. If you can't pay for it, if you do not see what is going on with this offense where there's guys wide open. And if Gino would just throw the ball instead of second guessing, we could have plays. We've seen when they roll Gino out on the run. I've been saying this all year. He's better moving out of the pocket, right? What did they do? They ran play action one way and rolled Gino the other way. Almost every time it was a big play, except for the time he couldn't throw the ball to the damn receiver. We have weapons. We have an offense. There is no way in hell a $6 million offensive coordinator cannot pick up first downs, cannot get a first down when you're 1st and 20 on your own, or when you're 1st and 15 on your own 15-yard line. Your defense gets you the ball. On their second possession, they get you the ball on the 15-yard line. We walk away with 3 because our first play was ass. Our second play was ass. And the third play, it was a sack. So, we get sacked on third down every single time. If Gino stands in the pocket and throws, it's a sack. It's guaranteed. So if you see that on film and you're watching film week in and week out, how the hell do they not see the fact that there's guys open? There's guys open. There's guys putting their hand up. Tyler Lockett, bro. Tyler Lockett's running down the field. Got his hand up. I got one-on-one. I'm going deep. Where does Gino throw the ball? To an out route? 40 yards, 30 yards, 20 yards, whatever it was, shy of where Geno Smith or where Tyler Lockett was going. Come on. I thought the whole reason Tyler Lockett was in the building was because Geno Smith needed somebody he was familiar with. Geno Smith needed somebody with consistency that can catch the ball like Brock Bowers can't, like Trey Tucker can't, like Jack Bech can't. The only balls Jack Besh has missed is balls that were uncatchable. Like everything else, dude, he had one play, 12 yards on his first catch in a long, long time. Did they throw him the ball the rest of the game? Hell no. They took him out of the game. Anybody that comes in on the offense and makes a big play, oh, you're out. Go sit on the bench, bro. We are not allowed to have big plays in Las Vegas. What are you doing here? That is not our offense. Go sit down. It's horrible, man. The play calling is bad, 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 bad. Shout out to everybody in the building. Yes, I'm just rambling. I'm trying to kill time till my guy gets in here. And I don't feel like reading your comments right now. So, but yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know how Tom Brady, the GOAT, could sit there up there in the booth laughing, talking to people, joking around like it's funny. Bro, you spent money on this shit, $350-something million. You invested into this trash product that we're putting on the field, bro. And you're up there laughing like it's a joke. Come on, man. Who are you laughing at? Are you laughing at Chip Kelly? Are you laughing at Pete Carroll? Are you like, bro, I knew this wasn't going to work? Like, why are you laughing? Fix us, bro. That's why you were brought in, Mr. Tom Brady. Fix this team. And no, I don't mean in 2027 when CJ Carr might be eligible to come out. Like, do we really think, are you predicting us to be ass still? We're still going to be getting, top 10 picks in 2027 also? Is that the future of the Raiders? Is that what you guys are projecting for us to do for the next 2 or 3 years, is wait for a damn quarterback? Because if that's it, bro, I'm out. I love y'all, YouTube, but man, I can't do this shit. There is no way I'm going to sit and pay money to watch these stupid ass games on YouTube, to pay for a dumbass YouTube TV channel to watch this product that y'all putting on the field, man. They wonder, when was the last time you've been to a game? A long, long time ago. Why? Because I got brains, bro. I got brains. Show me something on the field if you want me to go back to football games, to take my family, to take people to go spend thousands and thousands of dollars, $5,000-$10,000 to travel from Arkansas to Las Vegas to go see a game, bro. For what? I already know the outcome. We all know the outcome. As long as Geno's in the game, we don't stand a chance, bro. We don't stand a chance. But G has played very well. Very, very well. Chris in the building. What's good, Rebel? I'm here for the support, but I still support the Bills. I mean, I'd support the Bills too, bro. Is this the Bills live stream? It is now. You want to talk about Josh Allen coming out with his, 2 interceptions right off the rip, not looking like the old Josh Allen of old. But everybody wants to talk about quarterbacks and, oh, this guy's great and this guy. There is no perfect quarterback in the NFL, bro. I hate to break it to you. Tom Brady was never perfect. He had a damn good defense that if he threw an interception, they got him the ball back in 3 plays, right? If you got a defense that can do that, you can take chances in the NFL. And Josh Allen don't really have the defense to do that. But somehow that man found a way to get his team and keep fighting, right? I didn't see the Buffalo Bills defense fold like a lawn chair and just give up as soon as the score was more than a touchdown, like the Raiders have done every single year. Every single game. Yeah, they're still fighting. Yeah, they're making plays. Yeah, they had to stop, when we had an interception. Yeah, they're still fighting. But not completely every single play, right? They're not giving it 110% out there. So the Buffalo Bills, man, it hurts to watch the NFL anymore. It really does, bro. I'm not going to lie. It really hurts to sit there and watch all these teams come out on their first drive, score a touchdown in 4 plays, run the ball the next drive, kick a field goal, score a touchdown. And then I watch this Raiders team and I'm like, 3 and out, interception, 3 and out, field goal, 3 and out, out, 3 and out, field goal. I mean, it's pathetic, bro. It's pathetic. We are absolutely the worst team in the NFL. And I've probably watched at least 100 games this year. At least. I've watched every single game, on YouTube because shit, why not? When I come home, pop on this game. It takes 45 minutes on the fast play, right? Not even that, like 30 something. So shit, in an hour I could watch, 2 games. I watch these teams, bro. These offenses, these first time play callers on offensive coordinators that have that don't have a Brock Bowers, that don't have a Ashton Genty, that don't have a 6'6" 4-3 running Dante Thornton, who by the way was open so many times when he was out there, the couple plays that he was out there. Man, it's just pathetic, bro. It's pathetic to watch. So shout out to your Bills, you know, having the team sticking by him. Bench him, he is shit. he's definitely ass, bro. Sabrina Carpenter fan, what's good? Hello. How are you? How is Sabrina Carpenter? Bench Candy. bench. She's been on the bench, bro. She's been on the bench. Never. She's the best player. she's on the bench, bro. What the hell is going on out there, Vince Lombardi? Just, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about every single play for the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, man, let's get to this ugliness. So, Dak Prescott was 25 for 33. Not great. I probably pull it up on the computer, but I ain't move for that. 268 yards with 4 cribs. Damn, took it to the crib 4 times. 4 times on this, defense that was supposed to be tightening up. That's a Pete Carroll, led Pete Carroll mindset defense, right? If your half of the ball is shit and the other half of the ball is 2 shits, why are you still here? What are we waiting for? What are we expecting from Pete Carroll? I want to ask you this. I don't know who watches for the Raiders. Pete Carroll, ask them this question, please. Any reporter out there, just ask this question. Pete Carroll, what is your expectations for the next 2 years while you are here? To win now? Because that's all I hear him talk about. Oh, we're still out here trying to win. But what are we trying to win? What are we trying to win? Your pride? You're trying to keep your job by winning? Let me tell you something. If you win more games now, with the record we have, Raider Nation is going to turn on you more than they already have. Nobody wants to win anymore. We're past that, bro. We're past that. We're done past that. Geno Smith, 27 for 42. 42, bro. He had 31 passes at the half. 31. Explain this to me. Make it make sense. Somebody tell me how. You have a 74-year-old coach coming up there and saying, this is my team. I take all the blame. This is what I wanted on offense. To throw the ball 30 times. 30 in the first half. He ran the ball 3 times. 3 times. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you something. Ashton Genty, on his first 2 carries, had 10 yards. That's 5 yards a carry. Why did we stop? I don't know, man. I don't know. Hi, everyone. Sorry, out walking the dogs. Appreciate you. Kenny's Raiders on bench. Job Gino. Tony Shep in the building. What it do? What was the Raiders' best year? Shit, I don't know. All the Super Bowl years? All the Super Bowl years? They won 3 Super Bowls, so I'm going to have to go with, 83. The hell was the other one? 80, 79? I don't know, bro. I can't think right now. But, yeah, all 3 Super Bowls. They weren't bad in 2016. Derek Carr broke his leg. Done for the season. We were 11-4, I do believe, at that time. 12-4. I don't know, but we had a good record. We are still second in the division, I think. I don't know, but we were making it to the playoffs. We made it to the playoffs. If you think it's bad now, wait till the Stars leave in 2028. Man, come on, don't come in here and put that on my team, bro. I know, I know. You see me posting on X, bro. You see me on my post all the time, right? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? We've wasted 2 years of Brock Bowers. We're wasting Ashton Genty's rookie year. In 3 years, you got a fifth-year option for Genty. In 2 years, you got a fifth-year option for Bowers. In one more year, right? You got a you got a fifth-year option for Aiden O'Connell, for Michael Mayer, for shit, I don't know. Yeah, in 2 more years, JPJ, dude, the whole anybody on our team right now that does anything for the Las Vegas Raiders in the next 2 or 3 years will probably be gone, bro. Why would your agent keep you on a team that has a new coach every year? 5 offensive coordinators every 2 seasons, 5 quarterback coaches, 5 offensive line coaches. Why? Why would we do this? Why would we do this to ourselves, man? Um, Williams had 22 attempts. Oh my God! Wait, you mean there's still running backs in the NFL that touch the ball more than 20 times a game? Crazy talk. 20 attempts, 93 yards, 0 touchdowns. Geno Smith had 4 rushes for 14 yards. Woo! This is unacceptable. Geno needs to be benched ASAP. I stand on that. I'm gonna stand on it with you. Shit, let's start a petition. Somebody start a petition. I'll sign that shit. I'll send it around. I will take it door to door. I will take it door to door if I have to. I need to watch that all 22 LOL. You need, man, I'll send you the bro. I'll send you the code. I'm telling you. I got you. I got you. Ain't nothing you can order or nothing on. Like, it ain't gonna hurt me none. I got you, bro. It's pathetic, dog. You probably don't. So, probably don't, bro. You probably don't. Damn, everybody just did. Where'd everybody go? Probably don't want to see it. Shit, I would pay Gino, be real, right? Leaky, what's good, my guy? Appreciate you. What's up, Oos? Pete's nothing more than a podium politician. Oh wait, you pay the players that's not supposed to be on the field more than the rookies. I mean, I get you, bro. I get you. I get you. They wanted to move Meredith back to guard until JPJ was injured for the year to protect themselves from looking stupid. I mean, shit, why do you think they went with Aiden O'Connell, bro? Why do you think they went with Aiden O'Connell? I mean, Aiden O'Connell. Why do you think they keep going back to Kappa? All right, Alex just hit me up. He's on his way back. I picked a horrible time to go live. I didn't know Max Crosby's shit was going to be right now. Damn. But here's the thing on Meredith, and we'll talk about it a little bit more when my guy Alex, pulls up. But man, here's the thing on that. I'm not mad with Will Putnam playing center, right? It's his first start in the NFL. He had a little bit of struggles in the offseason when he started, but he did okay, right? He did okay. You're going to get beat. I mean, you're young. You're a UDFA that's, been on a practice squad going up against the first team defense, but he's not the one that's been out there. There's been other guys in front of him, playing. So with him knowing the center position, right? He's played it his whole entire career. He did very well in Cincinnati, won a bunch of awards. I think he only missed like 2 snaps the whole entire 3 or 4 years he was at Cincinnati. Will Putnam is that dog that, we all remember 2 years ago. Maybe some people don't, but he wasn't taking no shit. Robert Spillane got up in his grill, was pushing and shoving. Got a little pissed off because he was getting a little rough out there in practice, right? Which I love. And Robert Spillane got a little heated. They started holding on to each other's face mask or whatever. And then Max Crosby came. The whole rest of the defense came. But the dude did not back down. He was pushing and shoving everybody. So Will Putnam's got that JPJ dog in him. And, maybe they should have had a better offensive line coach to bring this kid further along. Maybe Joe Philbin. Philbin should be out there helping with the offensive line. You get paid to do something, bro. Do something. Help positions that need help. You're an offensive line coach. That is what you do. That is what you're known for. So I'm not mad at the Will Putnam. I'm mad, yeah, they should have had JPJ there. But whatever they saw to put JPJ at guard, I think, they were trying to light a fire under him, get him pissed off. We've heard Pete Carroll say, we're pushing guys. They're still trying to get under guys' skin in week 11 to try to figure out who their offensive line is. So I believe, they're just trying to make JPJ, I don't know, play angrier, play better, study in the book more. I don't know what it is, but I don't agree with it. But I think Will Putnam needs the experience, right? We need to know what we have in this kid. He's been on the roster all of last year, right? On the practice squad, going up against the ones. So why not put Will Putnam out there? But if you're gonna do that, you probably don't want to put him out there with a bunch of rookies, right? You probably don't want to put Caleb next to him and Mafi, whatever the hell his name is, on the other side, right? You probably want at least some veterans out there. So they had to move Meredith over so he can get snaps at center because they had him at guard. I think last week he played a little bit of guard, I thought. So, yeah, he played guard when Dylan Parham went down. He's not a guard. He looked horrible at guard. He didn't look, great. Matter of fact, I have his stats right here. Let's talk about the Raiders diggity stats. Give me a sec. You bitches keep on following me. I don't give a shit. So Will Putnam allowed 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, and 6 pressures allowed. 6 pressures allowed. But you put him in against one of the nastiest defenses that has a chip on their shoulder because they just lost, a young 24 kid that took his own life. And you're going to throw him out to the fire like that, probably wasn't the greatest game. But the dude didn't back down, right? He was out there. He made some plays. He made some damn good blocks. I haven't watched the all 22, but I was just watching the game again before I jumped on here, watching the defense and offensive line. He didn't look bad, bro. There was plays where Geno had plenty of time to throw the ball, and Will Putnam did his job. Now, you're going to get beat. 3 sacks, 4 hits, and 6 pressures. That's what 10 plays out of the 30, out of the 42 pass plays they ran, right? So it's not great numbers, but come on, you got to acknowledge the fact that they passed the ball 42 flipping times. 42 flipping times. 3 sacks on 42 times. Yeah, you want him to hold up every time, but for your first NFL start at center, I can't hate on that. But the Caleb Rogers situation, and we'll talk about that more when Alex gets up here, but the Caleb Rogers situation, for them, it came out, I don't know who reported it, but Tristan Kahn said on X that, he had a bad practice. He had a bad practice right before the game, which makes no sense to me because aren't you doing walkthroughs, bro? You're not having padded practices the day before the game. It's a walkthrough. So how do you mess up a walkthrough? It just don't make sense. Pete Carroll doesn't want to put the kid out there. The same reason he doesn't want to put AOC or Kenny Pickett out there. And I've been telling you guys, and I keep telling you guys, it's not my fault that I can only get YouTube to get 7 people in here. More people would understand this. I'm telling you over and over again, they will not put Kenny Pickett, they will not put AOC out there because it makes Pete Carroll look wrong. It makes him look like an idiot trading a third round pick and paying Gino all that money. And he will not make G look bad. All he does is cover for him every single press conference. So if we know that's happening with that position, you don't think it's happening with other positions, right? The guys that Pete Carroll have brought in, we seen, I mean, we see other players talk about it, Adam Butler. So it's a problem, bro. It's a problem when your coach is just dead set on on stupidity. uh, we did run the ball at our own 1 yard line to give the Cowgirls a safety. That's what I'm saying, man. 1,000%, right? You don't run the ball the whole entire game, but you run the ball on first down, backed up on your goal line. Let me guess. If I'm a defense and my offense has the ball, Alex is up here. Let me pull up. Um, I'll stop this. Talk about it in a minute. Oh, what's good, my guy?
What's happening, man? How's it going? How you living?
Saying I can't hear nothing. Try
You,
this way. Hello.
yo, what's going on, man? Can you hear me?
I still can't hear you. Can
Oh
you hear me?
no. Yeah. Test test. Hello.
Look, give me a second. Let me try this. Did I say something?
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, I got you. Got you. Cool.
Awesome, man. Love it. What's going on, man? How you doing?
What's going on, man? I'm doing all right. Doing all right. We were just talking about, a little football, talking about, Will Putnam getting the start, um, and Meredith finally moving over, to his natural position, the guard spot. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at, man. How you feeling?
About what? About the Raiders or the
Yeah,
offensive line?
the offensive line.
I mean, I guess there's no other way to feel about it except for yikes.
I hear you.
Yeah, man. It's an ugly sight out there. It's definitely an ugly sight.
Yeah, I was saying like somebody was commenting that they finally put Will make a change at center, but it's Will Putnam, and I was talking about remember too, I think not last year's camp, but the camp before, like Will Putnam has that dog in him, right? He got in that fight with Robert Spillane in the practice, right? And then Max Crosby came, the whole defense came over, and the kid wasn't backing down, like he was pushing, shoving everybody. So I think he has that fight in him, but to they brought him up, and then last week, didn't he replace Parham at guard for a little bit? He played left guard for a couple snaps.
Yes, yes.
So and then you just put the kid in at center. It makes no sense what they're doing at all with anything on the offense. Like
No, and you're absolutely right, man. And it's especially weird because we've seen, and I always talk about this on Twitter, especially, but like, I go back to the whole JPJ Jordan Meredith switch that never had to happen. It made no sense. And I did understand, like, after 3 weeks, everybody was like, go back, go back. I understood at that moment, at 3 weeks, why Pete Carroll was like, no, we already committed. We're going to see it out for more than 3 weeks. I understood it, like, because 3 weeks isn't going to tell the whole story. But now we're JPJ obviously didn't play this past week, but before this, we were at halfway through the season, and they didn't get any better. They arguably got worse from those first 3 weeks, and then it was time to pull the plug. Like, you have no choice but to pull the plug. You have to put your pride aside, and I don't even know if it was pride the first 3 weeks as much as it was like you got to see it through. Due diligence. Like, you got to be honest. No matter what, no matter how bad a first 3 games are, 3 games aren't going to define anything. So like, you got to see it through more than that. But like I said, halfway through the season, you got to pull the plug. There's no way around it.
Yeah, I felt the same way too. Like if you're gonna put Meredith at center, you got to stick with it because you got to have at least 6 or 7 games, and probably even more. You probably need a full season. The guy played the position like 1 or 2 times in college, and you know to make that jump from a UDFA to play left guard to play right guard, to be bounced around. I think he's was cut, release, cut, release, cut, release, signed to the practice squad. I mean, the guy's been all over, and then when he finally got to settle down and play 6 games in a row, he was one of our highest graded guards. Um, Actually, he was the fifth highest graded guard in all of the NFL. So, he was an 80 grade. So, um, to move him from that position just made no sense at all in the beginning when you had Will Putnam, when you had JPJ. If that was the case, they could have, put JPJ at left guard because he played well there also, in his rookie year. So you could have went with that and just, tried putting him in camp and see how that worked out instead of going with, what they went with.
Well, I will say when Putnam first came to the Raiders, he was a center, and they did preseason and everything. He was a center, but just the fact that he then moved to guard for seemingly no reason too. Which don't get me wrong, he never played center. It wasn't like Meredith, where Meredith actually played guard and looked great. So it's not like Putnam actually played center before and looked great like Meredith did. But it's still again that people are coming in, and to be honest with you, this is I feel like Brennan Carroll is getting a lot of heat for things that are out of his control because it really is like Brennan Carroll is Pete Carroll's son. And I know people look at that and they're like, he's only here because he's Pete Carroll's son. May or may not be true. That very well may be true. But
Yeah.
understand with that comes Pops is the boss. Like he's whatever Pops says goes. So Pops is the one saying all these things. He's saying these guys got to switch or I want these guys to switch. Brennan's just rolling with it. I'm not saying Brennan's a great coach by any stretch of the imagination. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I feel like a lot of things that Pete Carroll should be getting the blame for just falls onto Brennan's shoulders for that reason. Um, but yeah, it's a lot of weird switching that just it never had to happen. JPJ looked phenomenal at center last year. He looked better than he looked at guard. Um, it didn't need to happen. JPJ looks not that good at guard. He's very confident at center. I think that's a very underrated thing too. Is a player's confidence and just
Yeah.
how settled they are. If JPJ feels like he's at his best at center and he's confident and that's what he wants to play and he looks good at center, then the kid should play center. That's all there is to it. Especially when he doesn't look as good at guard. So a lot of these switches, I get it. Pete Carroll comes in, he sees something different, he wants to try new things, but none of it's worked out, and it feels like you gotta go back to what did work.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you got to swallow your pride at some point. Same thing with switching Ashton Genty's stance. Like you know, they finally changed their mind on that. Um, but Pete Carroll's just. It seems like the older he gets, the more stubborn he gets. Like I don't know how you can sit there and watch this offensive performance or watch Gino because I mean most of us nowadays have the all 22, right? You can go back, you can watch the plays over and over again. You can watch it, from the behind view, so you see what Gino sees. You see the time he has to throw, the time he doesn't have to throw, and it just hasn't been there all year. So to put in a new center at this time when I think Jordan Meredith the last two weeks was starting to figure it out at center. Like he had his best games. He had his best passing blocking grade, his best run blocking grade. They didn't make as many mistakes right in those 2 games, and then you make a switch. So once he starts to figure out the position and has his best 2 games, now you make a switch and put in a new center. It seems like they're just trying to set themselves up for failure.
Yeah, and to add to your point a little bit, not this week. At the beginning, I thought Gino actually played pretty well the first 2 3 drives, and then it all went downhill after that. But the 2 games before versus Jags and Broncos, he really those were his best 2 games of the season, arguably besides the Pats game. But he played really well. He controlled the ball well, and you know it's because he had a little bit more time and he was able to figure things out with chemistry with Meredith that you just mentioned that was going together. And like you said, they kind of took that away, and then no surprise, Gino went back to what he's been doing all season.
Well, see, and then on that too, like the game, Brock Bowers had 3 touchdowns, right? that game, he had Gino has 284 yards. 203 of those yards were yards after the catch. So it looks like he's having a good game, but he's, they were breaking tackles. They were, making spin moves. Brock's running over guys, running through guys. I think just let alone Brock Bowers and who was it? And Trey Tucker, Brock Bowers and Trey Tucker had a hundred and like 20 something yak yards themselves. So, the short passes, yeah, the quarterback's going to get credit for it, but the plays that are left on the field from Gino, and it's, when he has time in the pocket, it seems like that's when he throws the ball the worst. He's undercut, underthrowing guys. He's throwing guys low. He's throwing rocket passes to Ashton Genty on the interception last week. Like, you had Brock Bowers 3 feet in front of him that he looked right at Brock Bowers and then sees that he's open, sees that, the receiver is taking the guy deep, and they have exactly what they want, but you throw it to the running back instead of Brock Bowers, your best receiver. So the decision making is for Gino. Like, it's been bad. It's been bad every single game. And Pete just every press conference is like, oh yeah, Gino did a great job. It was great. G played great. G did this. And I just don't, I don't know how long this is gonna last. Like, I think he's digging his grave with Gino. Like, I think it's gonna end up, costing him his job.
See, I do want to go back to something you said really quick, being that versus Jacksonville, all the yards after catch and all that, and it looks like Gino had a good game. To me, it's like we were just talking about where Gino had a Brock Bowers 3 feet in front of him and he didn't throw it to him. We want Gino to do more of that. We want him to trust his receivers to get yards after catch, because he does have Ashton Genty, he does have Brock Bowers, he does have Trey Tucker. These are guys with the ball in their hands. They're going to make people miss. So, if the deep ball is not working out, that's fine. Just 5 yards, give it to your playmakers. Let them be playmakers. That's a good game for Gino. I mean, as far as this year goes, that's literally the best Gino has done, unfortunately. So but those things, and another thing that you said was it's the decision making, and this is everything, because if you watch Geno Smith, and this is going to be crazy to say, but it's honestly true, there's not too many balls that are just inaccurate. They're all just terrible decisions. He's thrown into double, triple coverage, and they're not inaccurate balls. It's just balls that, how the hell did you think that was going to get through this coverage? It doesn't make any sense. And then Gino will go up to the podium and be like, well, the ball got tipped by a defender and another defender intercepted it. There's nothing I can do about that. But you threw it into double, triple coverage.
There was four guys. There was four guys there. There was four guys on that play. There was two in front of Brock and two behind him.
Exactly.
And you throw a bullet, not a lob pass. I haven't seen Gino throw the ball in the air one time this year, except for the pass that Dante Thornton dropped. That was the only pass that I've seen where it's had loft, where it's been a touch pass. The rest have just been straight line. That's why everything's getting blocked. He's not putting any touch on it. He has no touch. Like the pass to Ashton Genty where he missed Brock Bowers, if he would have just flicked the wrist, a little toss, Ashton Genty's running with that ball for, who knows how long, maybe a touchdown. You got Brock Bowers in front of you with, one receiver and everybody else is 30 yards deep. So the accuracy has not been there either. Like he's missed so many guys. Brock Bowers, he's throwing behind him. You had Trey Tucker in the end zone. You hear Pete Carroll say, well, it was supposed to be an over-the-shoulder throw and make it look like it was Trey Tucker's fault. You can clearly see Trey Tucker was getting ready to cut, crossed, and he throws it behind him, like 2 yards behind him. So that's not accuracy. Like that's bad. And you had a clean pocket. You had time to throw the ball. The more I watched the all 22 in the pass plays, it seems like when the pocket is there, he's not trusting himself. He doesn't trust himself to throw the ball. He doesn't trust his receivers to catch it. And that's a problem. Like that's a huge problem. When you got guys like Jack Besh, his first catch, right? 12 yards or whatever, a first down. And then they take him out of the game. They don't throw to him the rest of the game. But one other time, I think he got one more target. So it seems like you throw to a guy, he does something good, and then you take him out. They did the same thing with Ian Thomas. He had a big play down the field, and then where's he the rest of the game? Like,
no, I hear you. I do gotta say, I do think a lot of, and I kind of talked about this the first time I was on the show, that Trey Tucker, there's a lot he has to work on. There really is, and he does not really have chemistry with Gino. I do honestly, when it comes to that end zone throw, I do think that was more of on Trey than Gino, but I do think it was clear miscommunication. Gino wanted him to run into the open space. Trey, the reason why I say it's on Trey more is, in my opinion, is because this is an so Trey's at the top of the route basically, and he has the option. Now you're in kind of scramble drill if you're Trey. You can go right, you can go left. He has nothing but space to what would be his right side, and to his left side, he has a defender, two defenders actually, right there, and he moves it to the left. Gino's anticipating that he moves to the right where there's nothing but space. So Gino throws it to the right. But because Trey goes left, the ball looks like it's 3 feet behind Trey Tucker because it is, but it's because Gino is like, hey, run to the open space. And that's something that you're just kind of expecting Trey. It's not like it's Gino's fault in terms of he was kind of free balling it and it wasn't like written or communicated or anything, so he just kind of trusted. So you could say it's Gino's fault in that aspect, sure. But I do think that in a perfect world, Trey Tucker does run to the open space and Gino, correctly. Because at the end of the day, if Trey Tucker's at the top of that route and he has the option to go left or right, and Gino throws it to the side with two guys, we're all sitting here being like, Gino, why the hell would you throw the ball to that side? There's two guys right there. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I lean more at that particular play.
I think I sit here the whole game saying pretty much every pass. Why'd you throw it to that guy? I mean, we got the end zone play, and you got Brock coming across a drag route. He doesn't even look that way, and he throws it, completely the other way. And you got a guy that's streaking up the field, and there's nobody even over there, and you look right at the dude, and then you turn and throw the other way, and you see there's one guy on a defender, and there's a guy like cutting across the field. I think it was the third quarter. And you're coming down for another drive, and then you get sacked on third down the next play. So it's like you don't you finally check down, but when you check it down, you're checking down when the guy is already barreling down on on the running back. You're not checking down when he's in stride and he can actually make a play. You're not leading your guy. You wait until Ashton Genty's completely stopped and he's standing there like this, not thinking he's going to get the ball because it's a timing play, right? If it's coming to him out of the backfield, that's a timing play. You got to turn, you got to get the ball out and give your receiver or your running back, whoever it is, a chance to make a play. Once he's stopped, it's dead. The play's dead. Like, you're not going to start and stop when you got a guy barreling down on you, unless you break a tackle, but you have no momentum. Like, so the decisions, I think we could just be so much, there's so much left on the field that is out there. And I don't know how you could sit in a film room, with the receivers and Brock Bowers and all these guys, and nobody's going, man. But it seems like they are to me because, when you see him on the sideline, you don't see Gino going over there, hey, let's get it together the next play, right? You've seen every single play. And I'm sorry, I'm just rambling, but
no, we've seen,
man. We've seen every time they showed on the sideline after Dak Prescott went to the sideline, he's high-fiving his offensive linemen. He's patting his receivers on the head. He's hugging his running back. Gino goes and sits down. And I've seen many times where Greg Olsen is standing there with the tablet, and he's not even looking at the dude. Like, he's not paying attention. He's not there. You've seen the body language from Dak Prescott, right? In a hurry-up offense. He's jumping up and down. He's, waving his hands. He's moving guys. Gino's walking around with his head down like this. He walks out to the huddle like this. He goes to the huddle. He's looking down when they show him. He's not looking his guys in the face. Like, there's no chemistry at all with this team. There's no emotion. Like, it doesn't seem like he wants to be out there at all to me.
No, and I completely agree with there is no chemistry at all with this team. And it's very frustrating to watch if you've watched Geno Smith in the past, because what is happening right now is the polar opposite of what Geno Smith has been since really his career resurgence with Seattle. He's been an extremely intelligent decision maker, and he was more of a Geno Smith has fantastic natural arm talent, but in Seattle he was dicing guys up with his mind. He was carving defenses, just going through, making the right decision after the right decision. And not only that, we talk about like the Raiders' offensive line's not doing him any favors, which of course is true. But in Seattle, he had arguably the league's worst offensive line every year there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he's no stranger to that either.
Mm-hmm.
And these are things that it was like, oh, he's coming to the Raiders. He has the bad offensive line again. That's fine though because he's used to it, and he has Pete Carroll. The translation is going to be seamless, and we're going to get Seattle Geno out in Las Vegas. And it wasn't unrealistic to think that Geno Smith could be the best Raiders quarterback in 2-3 decades. And then you get this product from Geno Smith on the field, and that's really what makes it such like a shot to the heart, because you never could see this coming from what you saw in Seattle with Geno, and then he comes here and it's like, how this isn't even Geno Smith? Who is this guy?
See, I gotta disagree with that because as soon as we drafted him, I was on my live and we did a full breakdown of his good plays, his bad plays. I broke down all his stats, his numbers. I broke down his plays over 10 yards, over 20 yards, 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, play action. And if you go back and look at those numbers, man, they're not as good as everybody made us believe with his 74% completion ratio. You had DK Metcalf, you had Jackson Smith and Jigba, who with Sam Darnold is arguably the best receiver in the NFL right now, but he wasn't with Geno Smith. You had Lockett, you had Walker the third, Charbonnet that could catch out of the backfield. Like you had all these guys and weapons, and a lot of these plays, deep balls, were just thrown up to DK Metcalf because 75% of the time he's going to come down with those 50-50 balls. They're not 50-50 3 years ago with DK, probably not now this year, and maybe not as much last year. But a lot of those numbers and a lot of those plays, man, like play action, you have to get Geno, on the run in the pocket. His numbers, are bad on third down with pressure in his face. His numbers are bad. So, and the fact that, that was a Russell Wilson team that had been to 2 Super Bowls. Like there's still a lot of Super Bowl players on that team. They had a great defense, right? Seattle's defense was, they're always top 10 or 15 when Pete was there. So if you can make mistakes, right? He had 15 interceptions and 6 or 9 fumbles last year with Seattle. That's 21 touchdowns to 15 interceptions and I believe it's 9 fumbles. That's 24 turnovers, or 24 turnovers to 21 touchdowns on a team that had DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. So I don't know why anybody thought that Geno was worth the money he got. One, was worth a 3rd-round pick. 2, a backup for 12 years or 8 years, up and down, bounced around teams, and then you got to sit on the sideline for 2 years with Pete Carroll and be in his ear, nonstop and become buddy with him. And I feel like his numbers went down, right? The first year he started, that team still had a lot of those players that were on those Super Bowl teams. The next year you start losing guys in free agency, right? Pete Carroll's not making the best decisions, the best draft picks. And I felt like his numbers just constantly declined. His interceptions went up. His yards, rushing went down. He's supposed to be a mobile quarterback, that can make plays with your legs. So I just felt like we were doomed from the get. Like, I said this team could go either way, right? If you get the Jets Geno, or if we get the Geno that has protection in the offensive line, that believes in himself and could just throw the ball down the field to Trey Tucker and Dante Thornton and, Brock Bowers, on slants and mesh routes, that they had a chance to be good if we had a running game. But I also said that this was going to be the demise of the Las Vegas Raiders. If Geno played bad, Pete Carroll would not pull him. That the love that he has, the false belief that he has in Geno being elite. He mentions him being elite, top 5, top 10 quarterback over and over again in press conference. And I think that's what's hurting this team. I think the rest of the team sees that there's favoritism in the building, man. You're not being accountable for your quarterback who, if he plays well, if he plays, if it's not his fault, if it's the O-line's fault. But when you watch the film, and if they're all sitting in a room watching the film together, there's a lot of just missed plays and missed opportunities. And then you come back in a press conference and say, well, this is a rebuild. we're all learning together. I have rookies, but everybody has rookies, and everybody has rookie offensive linemen, and those teams don't struggle the way the Raiders are struggling.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. I do think honestly though, like when it comes to the weapons Gino had in Seattle, this might be a hot take. I just don't think they were that good. I think Ken Walker is great. I think Charbonnet is great. I think DK Metcalf is pretty much just a vertical runner who's big and he doesn't really do anything well. He's not really doing anything well in Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers, who Aaron Rodgers is old now, don't get me wrong, but Aaron Rodgers might
Yeah,
have the best arm talent in league history. And, his arm talent has declined, but he's still
and the quickest.
yeah, yeah. The arm talent's still there with Rodgers, and they're not really able to do a whole lot because I don't think DK is. I'm not saying DK is bad. There's an ocean between being not great and being bad. He's in that ocean for sure. I don't think he's great. And Tyler Lockett, what's the difference between Tyler Lockett 1 year ago and Tyler Lockett who just got cut by the Titans? Not that much. So I don't. I'm not really a fan of the weapons that he had, but no, I there's really no way around it. It doesn't matter. Geno Smith is playing just god awful, probably the worst in the league. I don't really even know if that's debatable. I mean, he must be playing the worst in the league of all starting quarterbacks.
I mean, yeah,
Um,
you got more turnovers than all of them. Like,
yeah,
I think it's crazy that the Raiders lead the league in turnovers, and all of them are Geno's except for one from Ashton Genty, a fumble.
yeah, it's insane, it and the other thing is, I've been wanting to go on a rant about this for a little while about
Go
Chip.
ahead.
Awesome, awesome. So Chip Kelly really, as the kids say, he grinds my gears. This is a college coordinator through and through. There's nothing wrong with that, but when you are on a team like the Raiders, there is definitely something wrong with that. Now, what I mean by that is there are two types of college coordinators. There are the guys who are unrealistically creative, the guys who do a whole bunch of things that you can really only do against college kids and you can't really do against NFL defenders. You know what I'm talking about, guys who do
Yeah,
this, that, right? And you're never going to see that in NFL games because it's unrealistic. There's those guys, and then there's the other kind of college coordinators who are we're just more skilled than you, so I don't care that you know what we're going to do. Where Ohio State, we have more talent than you. We are going to
exactly.
demolish you. That is Chip Kelly. And when you are on a team like the Raiders, who do not have more talent than other teams, to say the least, it's like
To be nice.
to be nice. It's like why are you do every time the Raiders run, I know that they're running every single time.
I've said the same thing, man.
I know that they're running. This is a problem when you have no offensive line whatsoever. I believe Genty can be amazing even with this offensive line. That shows by his explosion rate is actually higher than he has more explosive runs percentage wise than Bijan Robinson, than Jameer Gibbs, than a lot of actual elite running backs in this league with this offensive line.
Yep.
So I don't really see it as a problem. Definitely a deterrent, don't get me wrong, but not as something that can hold Genty down. But when you are making it known, basically, that you are running it and you have this offensive line, surprise, surprise, Genty's hitting the backfield every single play. This is a problem. And then there have been one or two plays I've seen, literally one or two I've seen, where they were in pass formation and they actually ran it. And one of them that I can remember was a rushing touchdown last week against the Broncos. They were in shotgun. They had two out wide. They had one in the slot who was particularly out wide for a slot. And by all accounts, it looked like a passing play. They handed it off to Genty in the shotgun. He ran it for a touchdown. And surprise, surprise, when you show that you're doing something else and you use Genty to, free him up, good things happen. But Chip Kelly's not doing that. And conversely, every time they look like they're in pass formation, they pass. You're not doing your team any favors. You're just kind of showing your massive testicles, if you will, and being like, yeah, we're going to do this because we're better than you, except
And
you're
you
not.
can't stop it, but everybody does.
Everybody, and it's like, dude, you have to adjust. Now, the only times there's only one time where there's like it looks like it's going to be a run and they pass. It's the only time. It's when it's like second or third and short and like one or two, and it's a Geno bootleg. He fakes the Genti and then he bootlegs and then he either scrambles or he throws it short to like Michael Mayer or something. And that play works sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. Whatever. But other than that, there's nothing. There's no creativity with this team. And I mean, the most creative thing that he's done is throw a screen pass to Ian Thomas, and that's like, you know what I'm saying? There's no creativity, and this is a team that you have Brock Bowers, you have this team is not more talented than other teams, but they have top talent that is more top talented than other teams. Like Brock Bowers is more top talented than other tight ends across the league, or other defenders rather, who are guarding him. And Ashton Genty is a top talent. So you do have top talents. You can use these guys to be creative. The Raiders do not. Chip Kelly does not. And this really is why. Like, why are you doing this, man?
Yeah, and making $6 million a year also. The Ashton Genty thing, I could see, because not only is Brendan Carroll the offensive line coach, but he's also the run game coordinator. So when you got a guy that offensive line is struggling, and then you're the run game coordinator, Chip Kelly might seem like a hard ass, but do you really want to have your 6th round running back just beat up more than 5 times a game? You know what I mean? Like,
I hear you.
you're getting smashed in the backfield every time you touch the ball. I mean, I seen 4 times, or 3 or 4 times, last night, where the defender could have smacked Geno before he handed him the ball. Like, if he wanted to go that route, he could have just hit Geno and the ball wouldn't even got to Ashton Genty, and it probably would have been a fumble. But he kind of just hit Genty as he was getting the ball, and I was like, man, that's not gonna be a fumble. But he held on to it, so credit to that. But I think Chip Kelly, when it comes to the run game, is kind of in between a rock and a hard place. Like, you have to run Ashton Genty. You need a balanced attack. But on the other hand, that no matter what play you call, like, unless you get him, out in space every single time, or, run a sweep to him, the guy's going to get hit every time he touches the ball. And it's just kind of hard. But then on the other hand, you have Raheem Mostert that, picked up a first down for 3 yards, like a nice cut, patience, slow to, fast through the hole, like you're supposed to do. Like, and, so I think a lot of it is you don't have the offensive line when it comes to the run game. Now, pass blocking, they're up and down, but run blocking, they're just horrible. Like,
terrible.
They're the worst run blocking team in all of football. Shout out for the $5 holla. I appreciate you. But when you look at that, and then you look at, Raheem Mostert, and you look at around the NFL, every team, even the Eagles with Saquon Barkley, use 3 running backs.
Yeah,
they use 3 running backs. They have one that catches out of the backfield. They have one that pounds it up the middle when they need to in the goal line or third down. If, Saquon's been out there, or just got done with the big play. They have 3 running backs. They don't just have Ashton Genty touching the ball 9, 12, 14 times a game. And you look on the other side and you got Williams, who touched the ball, 22 times, 93 yards. Imagine that. Like I said, if the Raiders wanted to win this game, Ashton Genty has to touch the ball at least 20, and they need to have, close to 30 rushes. They go the other way and they pass the ball 42 times. Like, you're going against the worst run defense in the NFL. Like, 28th and last in every category. And you hand Ashton Genty the ball 3 times in the first half and you pass it 30 times.
That is true, but I gotta be honest. That ranking is without Quinnen Williams. Quinnen Williams just got there at the trade deadline, and he makes the world of difference.
And I knew that was, he was going to make a big, big difference on that defensive line, and the linebacker that they got,
Logan Wilson. Yeah,
Logan Wilson.
Yeah.
He was out there making plays. Every time he was out there, it seemed like he was, in on something also. So, yeah, I knew that was going to change. But you don't, you got Genty. He's quick, right? And another thing that irritates the hell out of me is, once in a while, Forsythe seems to have, that dog. I've seen him pancake 2 dudes, right? 2 guys in this game. So you have that dog, and, you have a guy like Parham who's decent on the run. Why are we not running to the outside, right? Why are we not hitting the C gap over and over and over again? and trying to let Parham, especially when everybody's when you got a 3 or 4 man front and you got everybody drop back 5 yards, and you run up the middle, man. You run up the middle, like no runs outside. When you do run outside, you do it when you have trips to one side and another guy to the other. So you have defenders on both sides of the field. Like you never run to the weak side. They'll have the ball on the field side or and they run they always run to the smaller side. Like it seems like they no matter what they do, it's the wrong play call.
And you know what is, just to put how bad this offensive line when it comes to run blocking into perspective is, and like I already said, you're not doing Genty any favors when the defense already knows you're running based on the formations. And the thing is too, they did actually, I gotta say, last week was kind of against that because they did use a lot of play action and downs that it did look like they ran, and they had success. But the reason why I don't blame Chip too much last week for not, or last week, by last week I mean yesterday, for not running too much is on all those play actions you saw the defensive line like closed in on Geno Smith right away. So it's like if they were going to be runs, they were all loss of yardage plays. So you see
Yeah,
that as Chip Kelly, you're like, all right, we're not running. So I do understand that, but I want to say though, Ashton Genty had 6 carries for 7 yards. This so to put this number into perspective, Ashton Genty had an 11-yard carry in this game, and he
yeah.
finished with 6 carries for 7 yards.
Well, actually, his first two carries, he had 10 yards.
Yeah, it,
His
it's
first two
crazy.
carries was 10 yards, and then there was a minus, a minus, a minus, a minus, a minus. The
It's
other
so
the other 5 plays. So he had I think a positive like 1 yard, and then the next play he had that 11 yard first down or whatever, and
it's
then
disgusting.
it's just backwards from there. So you look at his stats and you're thinking, okay, he's got 2 carries in the game, he's got 10 yards. That's 5 yards a carry. They don't give it to him but one other time the whole rest of the half. So you can look at his numbers and say, man, but he's getting 3 yards a carry. But no, the first 2 carries that mean the most, that where you start to show, look, we're gonna run the ball, we're gonna stick with this, and we're gonna continue to do this. You know, whether it was a loss the first play and 11 yards the next, that's still 5 yards a carry. That's more than he's averaged all year. And you're like, okay, time to pass 30 times. it's like, it's just, I don't know, man. None of it makes sense. I think Chip Kelly, his play calling, he has those great calls, and Gino can't find the open guy or get the ball to the receiver, and then he has those horrible calls, and somebody will make a play, like a 5 yard pass, and Brock Bowers turns it into 25. And I think that's our offense. It's like you call up the great play, and nobody can, you get a block in the back or a hold or something stupid, but then you call a play that you're like, there's no way this is going to work. They all see what's coming. You're running play action 18 times, 20 times in a game, and you can't run the ball. How does play action work? How
Yeah,
did it work that well when you can't run a football?
it's insane. It's insane. And one of the comments say, "Were there any sacks on play action plays?" I honestly I don't remember, but
No.
something I've said all season is Geno Smith, when he gets out of the pocket, and it's usually on a play action play, when he is able to get out of the pocket, and I don't mean he just gets out of the pocket and then he stands there and he starts looking downfield. I mean he's active. He gets out of the pocket and he's still keeping the play going. He might take off, he might throw on the run, whatever it is. He's at his best, and he's consistently been good in those situations. The problem is whether by the coach is telling him not to or his own accord, and I can only imagine it's his own accord, he's not doing it much. And he kind of, a lot of the time, we could sit there and be like, well, he only has 3 seconds. He only has 3 seconds. And that may be true. But at some point, when you're getting sacked all these times, or you're almost getting sacked all these times, if you only have 3 seconds, you got to know in your head, like, I have 3 seconds,
Got an
nothing's
internal
open.
clock.
Exactly. If nothing's open, I got to take off. Of course, it's unfair to the quarterback, but that's life. That's life, man. You
Yep.
got to adjust to your circumstances. Um, but when Gino does adjust to his circumstances, which has not been much, but when he does, they've been effective. He's been at his best when he does that.
Well, I said that too on the beginning of the season, because everybody was like, oh, we can't go with Aiden O'Connell. We can't go with Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell's a statue. Aiden O'Connell this. Bro, Aiden O'Connell's numbers are way better than Geno's has ever thought of being with the Raiders. And I think, even with this bad offensive line, he's decisive at the line of scrimmage. He knows where he's going with the football. He can get the ball out. He can lead receivers. He can throw guys open. Things that Geno hasn't shown he can do all year, to me, in my opinion. So, you know, I don't know how they could just watch watch this guy continuously, and be like, okay, it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. It has to get better. Um, you know, what does my guy say? Gino is, yeah. See, and what he says, Gino holds the ball way too long. He's always that that big game hunter. He would rather be the hero winning the game than win the game for his team. He would rather be that guy that makes the pass, or scrambles and makes a throw downfield to win the football game, than to just take the first down, bro. Like, even on the interception, there was no reason to throw that ball. There was no reason. You had a guy underneath. You could have took the first down. Um, the sack, two of the sacks in the red zone. You had a guy open. You had a guy wide open. You had Jack Best standing on the side at the first down, and he looks right at him, steps up into the pocket, steps back, turns his back, and gets sacked. Like, there's no, like, when the pocket collapses or moving around him, he's worse than a deer. And I thought Garner Minshew was bad last year of running into sacks or creating his own sacks, and Gino is horrible. There's been so many lanes for him to run, and I thought the reason why Aiden O'Connell was not the quarterback this year or last year at 1.4 million, damn, what this team could have been at 1.4. You could have saved a lot of money. But the reason Aiden O'Connell wasn't, because he wasn't a mobile quarterback, and everybody in Raider Nation wanted Geno Smith because they were like, finally, this guy could make plays with his legs. He can pick up first downs. He can move out of the pocket. And I seen Aiden O'Connell do that way better than I've seen Geno Smith making $40 million this year. I mean, make it make sense to me how you have a guy in Aiden O'Connell that's a fourth round pick that in his last 6 games throws 9 touchdowns and 1 interception, and you move on for Gino. I mean, for Garner, and then he just comes in, spot plays all year long, wins games, looks good, and then you go get another guy to put in front of him and pay him $71 million over 3 years, 40 million this year. When you have a guy making 1.4 mil, we could have went and got Becton. We could have went and got every top corner in the league for the money we paid Gino. It makes no sense how Raider Nation and how people bash Aiden O'Connell and act like they know football, when that's how every team in the NFL has done it for a million years. You draft a quarterback, you have a cheap quarterback, you build a team around that guy, and if he's not that guy, then you draft your quarterback, right? Right? Isn't that the logical way to go? Like, why is this kid still on IR?
Well, when it comes to Aiden O'Connell, this is a circumstance where it. I like to refer to. Well, this might not really go well with my point because a lot of people think that this guy is very good, but I think Aiden O'Connell is basically what teams think Shador Sanders is, capped. He's capped. Shador Sanders, I don't really understand all the hype around it, but that's a subject that's really neither here nor there. But at the end of the day, Shador Sanders' arm talent is very much average. He's extremely accurate. When I say arm talent, I'm not talking about how accurate he is. I'm talking about not
60
just
yards down the field,
yeah,
accuracy. Yeah.
an ability to make different throws. You're
Yeah.
in a circumstance, put touch on it or flick your wrist, whatever. That sort of thing. Very average with him. With Aiden, I think it's even worse than average is the thing. And this is the thing is you draft him in the fourth round because the thing with Aiden is it's not the raw talent. It's that he has all the fundamentals and everything that he can. You start him year one because down the line, of course, but you're able to do that because when Aiden O'Connell's in the draft process, you see that he knows ball. He's a ball knower. There's a big difference between natural talent and fundamentals. That should go without saying. You look at a guy like Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields, they have all the talent in the world. All the talent in the world. Zero fundamentals. And now look at them. They're both
But who wins the Super Bowls? It's those guys with the intelligence and the fundamentals that knows ball. Like those guys that can get pre-snap read, that can, be decisive at the line of scrimmage, that can read defenses and change plays, like Derek Carr used to do, right?
Like, I hear you. I just think that if Aiden O'Connell was the quarterback, if Aiden O'Connell theoretically was the starting quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders, like indefinitely, like he was basically what Geno Smith is, I think he would, by miles, have the worst arm talent among all starting quarterbacks in the NFL. I really do. Does that mean a lot to you? It might not. I think it means a lot to a lot of teams, though. And I think that is why Aiden O'Connell is never going to be considered. I don't think the mobility really is either here nor there. I just think it's something that people gravitate towards because he doesn't really have any.
I've seen Aiden O'Connell throw the ball 60 yards downfield to Trey Tucker, though, on touchdowns. I've seen him throw the ball 50, 60 yards down the field to Jacoby Myers to win football games in Denver. Like, I've seen this kid throw the ball on target 50 yards. You don't need to throw much more than 50 yards in the NFL. If you do, then, but look, if you look at stats all around the league, there's nobody in the NFL right now throwing at a high number or even throwing, more than 30 yards and maybe once a game. So you don't need that high arm. If you look at what Daniel Jones is doing right now with the Colts, 5-yard passes, 10-yard passes, handoff, pass to the running back out of the backfield. If you look at the way the Raiders made the Super Bowl with Rich Gannon in 2022 when they won the division twice, it was the same thing with Jerry Rice and Tim Brown. You had two of the best receivers all time in football, but did you run them down the field? No. You ran 10-yard plays, 5-yard plays. You got first down after first down. You moved the ball down the field and you scored touchdowns. That's the name of the game. It's not, about your drip or what you wear, walking into the building or how cool you are in your press conference. It's about knowing football, and it should be about knowing football for Raider fans if you want to win. And Aiden O'Connell knows football. He can win games. Like people say, 67 yards in Kansas City. Okay, but what about the 3 points that they put up or, the 0 points that they put up against Minnesota, and then he comes out and throws 4 touchdowns against a pretty good, solid Chargers defense in the first half. Like, right? The guy bounces back. He breaks his thumb. His first game back after breaking his thumb. 340 yards in Kansas City with 2 touchdowns. They lose that game because of a botched snap.
Yeah.
The kid has showed he can play with the best. He steps up his game when it's big time stage. He's undefeated against the Broncos. He's beat the Chargers. You can't say that for Geno. You can't say that for Garner. Hell, you couldn't even say that for Jimmy G, who had been to Super Bowls and made it to playoff after playoff with good teams. Aiden O'Connell is that dog. I see it in him. Like I see him make the throws, right? He's not afraid to stand in the pocket, to take the hit. People are like, oh, he's injured all the time. That's because he stands in the pocket. He's not trying to escape. He's like, man, I could stand here and I could make this throw before this dude hits me, and I don't care if he's going to hit me. And that's how it's been in the NFL for 100 years. Teams with pocket quarterbacks, I mean, look at Flacco still throwing the ball around. Once in a while he throws it, 40 yards, 50 yards, but he can't throw it much more than that. Most of those plays are, 10-yard outs, and let your receivers do the work. You have a guy like Brock Bowers. You have a guy like Trey Tucker who's fast as hell that can, you can get him the ball 5 yards and get some guys in front of him and let them make moves. Like that's how it's been done all through the NFL. If you look at, even the Chiefs, man, even the Chiefs, they'll dink and dunk down the field, 5-10 yards here, 5-10 yards here, take the deep ball when they can. Like, you don't need a guy that can throw 80 yards in the NFL. It hasn't worked for Anthony Richardson. It's not working out for Joe Milton. Like, it's not worked out for any of these guys that have had these athletic traits and big arms, right? It comes down to intelligence at the quarterback position. Aiden O'Connell, four different offensive coordinators, but he still knows the playbook. You hear guys when they talk about him, who's the smartest player in the building? They say Aiden O'Connell, right? Collier was asked, who do you go to when you need to ask somebody in the building something? He didn't say Geno. The dude said Aiden O'Connell. Like, that's because he knows football. Like, he picks up the playbook in and out. Like, I hear all these Shador fans, like you said about Shador, right? Shador. They're saying he didn't have an offensive line. The offensive line didn't know his cadence. He didn't have any time in with any of the receivers. But you could say the same thing for Aiden O'Connell, who was a fourth round pick, who came in a Chargers game, and Josh McDaniels left Khalil Mack uncovered for the whole entire game, and he lit Aiden O'Connell up play after play after play. You know what that kid did?
Yeah.
Drove us down and almost won the game on the last drive. Yeah, he threw an interception, but it was his first game in the NFL. Like that's toughness. I don't see how people can say that at 1.4 million you don't take a chance with that kid for 2 years while you can build your offense. You can, and if he's as bad as everybody says, then hell, you get a high draft pick every year, right? Like
I hear you.
How are you losing paying 70, $40 million to Geno rather than, a guy that has chemistry with Brock, that has chemistry with Trey Tucker. They've been out throwing, in the offseason and the summer times together. They're friends. He had chemistry with Jacoby Myers. Like, why do you think Jacoby Myers, like, bro, I want out of here. Like, I've seen Aiden O'Connell push this team and carry this team, and I'm looking at Geno going, nah, I ain't catching no more of those. Let me out. So, I mean, I don't know. I think Aiden O'Connell gets a lot of hate for, he's not the most mobile guy. No, he's not. Doesn't have the greatest arm. But what I see is the same thing that I'm sure Tom Brady sees, a guy that's intelligent, that knows your playbook, that's going to study the defense he's playing against, and he's going to know how to beat those defenses. Like with bad teams. I mean, come on, the guy was throwing to Alex Bachman. What's the kid out of Tennessee that, got in the game a couple times? Like, I mean, come on, some of the guys like he was throwing to when Devontae Adams was gone.
Was it Ramel Keaton? Is that his name?
Yeah. Ramel Keaton. Like, come on, this dude's pushing the ball down the field on first team drives with guys like Alex Bachman and Ramel Keaton. And people are like, oh, he's not an NFL quarterback. He's not an NFL quarterback. Like, I don't get it. Like, and actually, in all stats, bro, Aiden O'Connell leads the Raiders' history out of any quarterback in 20 games, drafted or brought in through free agency. That means Derek Carr. That means Rich Gannon.
That's a sad stat, though.
That I know it's a stat, but it's still a stat, right? It's still a stat. Like, you're on bad teams with bad defenses that aren't inconsistent, and you're a quarterback that's still putting up numbers better than all these guys that they've brought in. I don't see how that doesn't show something, right? At least just, man, give him a shot and see see where it goes with that. But to just bring in guys like, over and over and putting in front of him, and he just constantly outplays, and then you're like, okay, I think it would be wise to spend $40 million and a third round pick on a quarterback that's never won anything in the NFL, got demolished in his first playoff game. and I think that's the route we should go instead of trying this kid, that Josh McDaniels drafted. What's Josh McDaniels doing right now with Drake May? I'm not saying Aiden O'Connell is Drake May, but the same style quarterback, right? That was a draft for Josh McDaniels. He's seen something in this kid to draft him in the 4th round.
Listen, I love the spirited topic, and I see people in the chat saying, give the kid a chance, offensive coordinator, and this and that. When I say arm talent, I'm not saying arm power. He doesn't have arm power, but no. I'm not saying that when I say arm talent. Arm talent is ability to make different throws. There's pressure in your face, get rid of the ball different ways. The play is extended, maybe you're on the move, you let it go. Flick the ball, you don't have room to step into the throw, so you flick it. This is things like Drake May is doing and all that sort of things. These are things Aiden O'Connell cannot do. These are things Geno Smith can do. Now, you can sit here and say Geno Smith can do all this stuff, but if it's going to end up like it's ending up right now, then what's the point? Fair enough. Absolutely. But I just, as it is right now in what are we going into, week 11, I think, maybe? As it is right now, I see the argument, man. Like, why not give Aiden O'Connell a shot right now? I see that, absolutely. But I think that when you start the season, I think if you have the option between Geno Smith and Aiden O'Connell, it's a no-brainer to me. It really is. Aiden is just, everything needs to, I don't want to say everything needs to go right, but for Aiden O'Connell, but it's.
No, he's not an if quarterback like Geno. Geno's an if quarterback for sure. If the offensive line holds up, if your receivers are good, if you got a running game, if it's the right call. Aiden's never been that dude. Like, they were winning games with Bo Hardegree, man. Bo Hardegree. A dude that's never called plays in the NFL. He's been a quarterback coach. He's never called plays at the pro level. And this dude picks up Josh McDaniels' playbook that couldn't do anything with himself. And Bo Hardigree has Aiden O'Connell like playing like a damn first round pick, man. Like he come on, like all season long, he had damn good games. They this close from making the playoffs. If the defense could have just stepped up in 2 games, the Raiders make the playoffs that year because of Aiden O'Connell. I feel like Aiden O'Connell was the only reason they brought back AP. Because if they would have went with Jimmy Garoppolo or Brian Hoyer, they would have lost way more games, and AP would have never even got another year, bro. That was all AOC.
Here's my thing with Aiden O'Connell, and as far as the IQ goes, that's why he got drafted, because of all the IQ stuff. He didn't get drafted for his natural talent, I promise you.
No.
But the thing is, when I watch Aiden O'Connell make these throws, I can't help but think every single quarterback in the NFL can make these throws. And that's what it boils down to. Now, that doesn't mean every single quarterback in the NFL is reading the play pre-snap and, they know where to go with the ball beforehand like Aiden O'Connell does. That is certainly true. But these things are theoretically teachable. The ball gets snapped. This is what you're looking for pre-snap and this and that. Aiden O'Connell already comes equipped with that. But if you're a coach, you're thinking, Aiden O'Connell comes equipped with that, but his talent is what it is. So let's theorize with the guy like Anthony Richardson. And this is why a guy like Anthony Richardson becomes a top 5 pick, because you see the talent, unteachable. And theoretically, the whole defensive, you see the defensive unit, how they're lined up. This is what you're probably going to do. Look for this, look for that. You see that they're lined up in whatever they're lined up in. This is the best way to beat it. Look for this, look for that. Those things are all theoretically teachable. And I'm not saying that they're the easiest things to teach. Case in point, Anthony Richardson hasn't learned a damn thing since being in the NFL. Arguably has gotten worse every year, for that matter. But that's why a guy like Aiden O'Connell is ultimately going to suffer the fate that he suffers, because that's what it is. And I know people are like, yeah, but when he plays, good things happen. And it's like, I don't even really think that's true. Better things are happening than what we've seen from Geno Smith, certainly. But again, I go back to, is there a worse offense in the league than the Raiders? The bar to say that, like, Aiden O'Connell can be better than what Geno Smith is right now is basically on the ground. I mean, it's literally, the bar is as low as it can possibly be, So that's why I say, as it applies to right now, sure, if you want to go with Aiden O'Connell, what's the worst that could happen? You can't get any worse than what Geno Smith's doing right now. You know what I'm saying? So I hear that for sure. But when it comes to the future, I don't really see how there is a future. I think that this is why a guy like Aiden O'Connell is viewed as a backup the whole time, because he does have that intelligence, and he can come in, he can step in, and you're not asking for too much, because the reality is, I can count on my fist the amount of times that Aiden O'Connell has gone out there and made a legitimate game-changing play. I'm not saying that he has no highlight reel plays. He has no deep balls. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying a play that legitimately, it was time to be a hero. It was time to – because here's the reality. You need your quarterback at times to win games. I'm not saying not lose them. Aiden O'Connell is very good at not losing football games. He's very good at it. But I've never actually seen him win a game. Aiden O'Connell, we need you to go out there and you win this game. I've never seen it. And
the Jets game 2 years ago, fourth quarter, they were down the whole entire game. He comes down, drives, has 2 people in his face. Aiden O'Connell, the statue that can't move, rolls out of the pocket, makes a man miss, throws on the run to Michael Mayer up in the air where only he can get it. Touchdown, Raiders win. Game over. The Broncos game, Jacoby Myers, deep down the field, 55-yard touchdown. Broncos lose, Raiders win. Aiden O'Connell. I can go on and on, bro. The kid, listen. Do me one favor, and we'll come on again. We'll have this conversation, but do me one favor. Just go and watch Aiden O'Connell's highlight plays. It's like 15 minutes, bro. The kid backpedaling, making guys miss when people say he's a statue, stepping up in the pocket, throwing with guys on the run. He's releasing the ball before the guy is even breaking towards his target over and over and over again. That is an NFL quarterback. If you listen to the highlights, when you turn the volume on, you hear guys like Rich Gannon. You hear guys like Troy Aikman. You hear guys like Sanchez. Every one of these guys say, "Damn, that's a hell of a throw. That's an NFL quarterback. That's an elite throw right there." Over and over again on every one of these throws. These are NFL quarterbacks that are probably Hall of Famers that are saying this kid can make throws that I haven't seen anybody make. That's not having a highlight reel. That's not having a highlight reel. This kid has made plenty of throws with bad teams, bad offensive lines, and no run game. And also, one more fact: Aiden O'Connell is 6-1 when the Raiders rush for over 100 yards. If it wasn't for the botch snap in Kansas City, he would be 7-0 when the Raiders rush for 100 yards. There's no other quarterback that you could tell me that you can find that stat, bro. Find that stat for me. All the stat gurus, whoever's watching, ECG too, find me that stat. Find me that stat, please. Find me a quarterback in his rookie year that threw 9 touchdowns to 1 interception on a struggling team with a coach that had never coached before and a Bo Hardegree that had never called plays. I don't get it. I just don't see. Those are stats. Those are numbers, man. Those are if you compare him 17 games, the first 9 games of his career, rookie career, first 9 games against Daniel Jones, first 9 games this year, Daniel Jones had 100 more yards. They were tied for touchdowns at 6. They were tied for interceptions at 2, and Daniel Jones had 3 less sacks. If you look at his numbers with my guy ECG. With their quarterback in Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence. If you look at his first 20 games compared to Aiden O'Connell's numbers are better. If you look at if you look at Jalen Hurts, his first 17 games, they're better. If you look at Aiden O'Connell's first 20 games compared to Josh Allen, compared to Eli Manning, compared to Peyton Manning, his numbers are better. Like, how are those? When you have a guy like that who doesn't have the weapons that they had, that wasn't your quarterback. He was holding a clipboard, so he wasn't the guy running with the practice squad. He's not going up against the ones. He's holding a clipboard, watching Brian Hoyer run against the ones, and then when he's thrown into the game, he comes in and just that is not. There's no quarterback that has done that. There's no quarterback in the NFL that has been drafted where he was that didn't get time with the ones that just cuts to come in and play and do the job he did his rookie year. Like it hasn't been done before. That's talent. That's arm talent. He can make all the throws. I've heard every one of these announcers in every game he's been in saying there's not a throw this kid can't make. There's not a throw this kid can't make. He can make the sideline throw. He can make the deep ball throw. He can throw, on the run. He can lead receivers. Like, what more do you have to do besides, make plays with your legs, which no, he's not great at. And when he runs, it scares the shit out of me. It's like Bambi on ice. I'm not gonna lie. But other than that, the toughness, the willing to, stand in there and take a shot to try to pick up the first down, the willing to, with all the shit he's been through. I mean, that's a lot for any quarterback. And anybody said, you can't expect, Justin Fields or any of these guys that have had 3 head coaches, 4 head coaches, 5 offensive coordinators to do what Aiden O'Connell's been doing. Like, that's got to show something.
When it comes to this topic, I could not disagree with you more. I would go as far as saying if I surveyed every single coach, offensive coordinator, head coach, defensive coordinator in the NFL, what they thought of Aiden O'Connell's arm talent, and I gave arm talent, ability to make throws, everything that you're saying, just arm talent. And I gave them 3 options, check box. Average, above average, below average. I would put every single penny on my bank account that 95% of them, probably 100%, but I'm going 95 just to be safe, just in case there's any homers out there, that they would put below average. I just don't see it. I don't think anybody really sees it. And coaches on the Raiders certainly don't see it. That's why he is what he is. And look, man, when you talk about the stats, how much does it really mean? How much does it really mean? What has it done for the Raiders? It's done nothing. You want to talk about that it's comparable to Daniel Jones with the Colts? Look what Daniel Jones is doing with the Colts. And
look at their defense. And they have the best offensive line in the NFL, though.
And you could say, look at Jonathan Taylor. And you could say, look at Jonathan Taylor. But I promise you, if you look at Daniel Jones' high points this year, Aiden O'Connell cannot do what Daniel Jones is doing. That is just – it's –
I disagree, bro. I got to.
It's
if you put Aiden O'Connell behind that line where he can stand there and pick guys apart and has more than 3 seconds to throw the ball, Aiden O'Connell is going to he's gonna slay defensive backs, bro. He's gonna slay people. Like he's
and
already, like I said, he has the decisiveness. And ECG says he's not consistent. Well, you have to be consistently put in with the first team reps in practice, and you have to be consistently put in games to be consistent. Like look at Bryce Young. Bryce Young's drafted first overall, right? He comes out, he struggles as a rookie. Aiden O'Connell's numbers to Bryce Young are better the first year. They're better the second year and whatever games he played. If you look at those numbers, better than Bryce Young. The Panthers, they bench Bryce Young. They go with another quarterback. They put him back in. He struggles. They bench him again. They put in another quarterback. But he's been in and out of the lineup. He's been running with the ones and twos. He was never shuffled to the back. Never pushed away. Right? He's always known he was going to be that guy. Where are the Panthers right now? Bryce Young is playing his best football. Like he's not running the ball. He's not, making plays with his legs. And they're like on a 5-game win streak or something. Like because they took the time to develop their quarterback and believe in him and put people around his strengths. If you go to, you can't say Aiden O'Connell has no strengths at all. Like no strengths at all. He gets the ball out pretty fast. Like it's not the fastest release, but
we're talking about a first overall pick, comparing him to the 4th round guy in Aiden O'Connell, who, being quite honest, was about my QB 15 heading into the draft, and Bryce Young was everybody's QB1 of the class. So it's such a hard comparison. It's to be like they invested in Bryce Young. Of course they invested in Bryce Young. He was everybody's QB1 in that draft, and that's why he went first overall. Of course they did. And it's like to compare that to Aiden O'Connell, man, it's a stretch, man.
It says Bryce Young. ECG says Bryce Young is a first-round pick. You can't compare that. You can't compare the two. Why not?
It's not that he was a
4th-round pick with a 2nd-round pick. Why? Because he's drafted to a shitty team. Look, the Raiders were a shitty team. They had a high pick then too. They picked 6th that year. Like, come on, man. It's not like he went to a worse team just like that kid Bryce Young did. The only difference is they believe in Bryce Young. That's the only difference. I'm telling you. They believe in him. They figured out his strengths. They have a defense. They put a team around him. And the Raiders, that's all I'm saying. I know you don't agree, but
wait. I got to look at this really quick because I think Bryce Young is about 5 inches smaller than Aiden O'Connell, and
he's got to roll out of the pocket to get the ball out. He can't stand in the pocket and throw. That's what I'm saying. He was drafted first overall, and if you compare their numbers,
that's what I'm saying.
Games, it's like it's not even close.
That's what I'm saying. I actually just looked it up. Bryce Young's 5'10", Aiden O'Connell is 6'3". He is exactly 5 inches smaller. So think about that for a second. He is 5 inches smaller. 5'10" is a terrible size to be as a quarterback. 6'3" is pretty ideal. Despite being 5'10", he was the first overall pick. That's how much there was to like about Bryce Young is what I'm trying to say. So, of course, they were willing to invest. There was so much to like that he's 5'10". He was still a first overall pick. He was still everybody's QB1 of the class. Aiden O'Connell's 6'3". He was... I don't know if you're going to find a class that had, or a list rather, that had him higher than QB 10 of his class. Not that has to mean particularly anything.
According to Hondo, he was a 1st-round pick if he would have went out the year before.
yeah.
Come on, man. Hondo's the GOAT, bro. Hondo said, bro. Hondo said he's a 1st round. He's a 1st round. I don't care what he is.
There was two. Oh. One thing that I wanted to, this is totally off topic. I want to revert back to Genty really quick if we can. Is that cool?
Yeah. Man, we can talk about whatever.
All right. So, something that you said earlier, I meant to reply to this, and because you brought up something very, very that people don't talk about, and it needs to be talked about. You said that you want to see Chip Kelly call more plays where Genty runs to the outside. Now, I did extensive scouting of Genty in college because, this is a guy, when you start talking about running back should go top 5, and when you start talking about running backs are a top 3 player, regardless of position in the draft, you got to back that up. You got to watch all the film, and, you can't just make a claim like that. So I watched, whether you're making the claim or not, if people are making that, you gotta watch all the film to know where you stand on it if claims are being made. Sure. So I went through everything with Genty in college. And I have to say, there was one weakness with him, and it wasn't pass blocking. He wasn't a consistent pass blocker, but I watched this guy stop Abdul Carter in his tracks. He could pass block fine. He just needs to get consistent with it. It wasn't his receiving ability. His hands speak for themselves. He's had some drops this year, of course, but I mean, what did he have? Like 7 receptions yesterday? Granted, a lot of them were out of the backfield. They weren't like actual routes, but he's shown this year that he has a good route tree. Anyway, the one weakness is he when he can bounce to the outside, he bounces inside. And the reason for this is he seeks contact. And this is cool. Like, if you're a big guy and you seek contact, Gentry's not a big guy, but he plays like a big guy. So that's cool. But Gentry's also very quick and he can just, he has home run speed, but you might not know this because he prefers to bounce inside. And
Yeah.
this is something that I critiqued him for, and I'm noting because there are a lot of plays, and even with the Raiders this year, where he can bounce outside and he has an opportunity to do so, and he's more comfortable going inside, which to each their own. But when you're giving up plays that look like they could go for 10 plus yards a few times, and you're doing the same thing wrong, it's kind of like, oh man, this sucks. And the kid's only played X amount of pro games, right? So like, I'm not saying that this is what it's going to be his whole career by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just as it is right now. But then when he does go outside, to add to what I'm saying, correct me if I'm wrong because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I believe the big run against the Bears, like the big run, was a run where he went outside. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then I also believe the run against the Broncos that was called back because of the Jack Besh, I think, block that had nothing to do with the play, was like a 35-yarder where he also ran outside.
It was outside the tackle, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so when he does do this, big things are happening. Now, I'm not sure if Chip Kelly is telling him not to do this because obviously I'm not in the huddle. It's definitely possible, or he's saying not to not do this, but hey, you want to bang this inside if you can, and he's trying to stay true to that. That's absolutely possible. But I did notice in college he did not do that, and there have been plays where he had a blocker downfield. He could have exploded for an 80-yard touchdown, and he chose to cut back inside to contact. He turned an 80-yard would-be touchdown into like a 40-yard, which you can't complain about 40 yards, but you just sacrifice a touchdown. And these things seem to be happening with the Raiders too. Again, it could be Chip Kelly more than it is Genty. I don't know, but as I saw it with Genty in college, I have to assume that that's playing a role too. And I would also like to see that more because, like I just brought up, the two biggest, that 35-yarder or 33-yarder, whatever it was, it would have been the second longest run of the year for Genty, and they both would have been outside, as you mentioned. Like, we need to see more of that from Genty because he can, and we need to see more, man. And those are the plays that we haven't seen a lot from Chip either, like where he gets, and it's not even creativity calling a run where you pitch it. We just haven't really seen any of that. Like we've just really seen runs up the gut. And you gotta see more of that, man. I just wanted to go back to that. I forgot to. It just randomly came to me.
But I see him a lot. I think the problem with Ashton Genty, and I want to say this is the running back coach, because if we looked at the off season, if you watch any of the films through the off season where they were practicing and all the shit that they were doing, they're constantly everything was a jump cut, bro. From the start they got them taking one step and there's bags, jump, right? Everybody's jumping. Nobody's smashing through the hole, right? So you get the ball, and every single time, bro, he gets the ball and he hops. There's no direct. So use your power, use your speed, get underneath these big guys and carry them for a couple yards. But there's no patience to the hole. And like you said, man, I've seen many times where Ashton Genty gets the ball, he's taking two steps to the outside, and then there's a DB, and he's going to cut it back in and run into the tackle in the guard. Like, why are you cutting back inside, bro? Like, you have two plays. You either you blast it through the middle, you bend it, to the inside, or whatever, but he's not bouncing it to the outside. He's not, he's bending everything to the inside when he's running outside, and you're just getting clobbered. It's football 101, man. You make a decision, right? You're either, like I said, you're going to bend it inside, you're going to bounce it outside, or you're just going to hit the hole and you're just going to blast. But he's not doing, either. Like, the decision making has been bad. That one, jump cut every time he's touching the ball is losing his momentum, I feel like. And I don't know if it's just the plays that they're calling, or if he's just not, if he's already checked out, because he's like, I mean, you seen the interview where he said, bro, this was a bad team before I got here. Like, yo, don't start blaming me because I was 6th overall and you drafted me at 6 with no damn offensive line and a shit quarterback and a horrible play caller and a horrible offensive line coach, and you're blaming me? Come on, man. Like, I'm just here. I'm just here for it. I didn't make the decisions. Like, and the last couple, he's like, bro, I don't know. Like, he's like, what do we got to
He's
do to
had it.
fix it? Can you pinpoint it? He's like, make the plays. Like, do your 111. That's all. Do your job, bro. I'll do mine. Just make sure that the dude is not hitting me as soon as I touch the ball. Yeah, come on, man. I'm not. I'm looking. I'm reading the field. I'm like, okay, I'm about to go. Right. Nah, I ain't going nowhere. Like, it's just ridiculous to have a 6th overall pick that is scared to death back there because he's like, man, I don't stand a chance. Every time they call a play, he's like, he's just stand up. He should be looking like this, like, God help me. Please, God, please. I will not be the boogeyman no more. I will be the Silver Surfer. Whatever you need me to do, please. Like, every time the play calls, he's just like, oh man, we got to do this shit again. Like, there's no effort because he already knows. He's like, man, I'm gonna jump as soon as I get the ball because I know there's gonna be somebody there. So maybe if I just hop, I'll get away and then I can start running. But then there's 5 more people there. So the kid doesn't stand a chance with the play calling, with the offensive line coach, with the they need to move. I mean, you would think by week 11 that they'd say, all right, this offensive line ain't working. You're not working as the offensive, as the run game coordinator. This is not working. And also, you got Nate Carroll over there. That's the assistant of all this.
Oh, yeah.
But Chip Kelly let it slip 2 weeks ago, and they said, why did you take out, JPJ and put in Alex Kappa? And he said Nate Carroll's in charge of that. He said that's Nate's job, personnel. So Nate Carroll is the guy that's subbing these dudes in and out. Why is this dude making the decisions of who comes out of the ball game and who stays in? That you're not the offensive court. Like, you're not. That doesn't makes no sense, bro. I think Chip's shaking his head too. He's like, I can't win, bro. I got a son here. I got nepotism here. I got nepotism over here. I got nepotism all around me, and I just don't know what to do. Like, if I call a play, it's the wrong play. If I yell at somebody, I'm gonna get fired because the head coach's son, and you can't talk shit to him. You can't yell at Gino. I heard the same thing. From a bunch of people that I talked to in Seattle, they was like, oh man, it was players said over and over again that if you had a problem with Gino, Pete Carroll told everybody in the meeting, in the locker room, if you have a problem with Geno Smith, come talk to me. You're not allowed to talk to him. And I've heard that from 8 different people, 2 of them ex-players, that said, if you have a problem with Geno Smith, you come talk to me. You don't think that's going to divide a locker room?
Absolutely.
You don't think that's going to divide a locker room? You can't even talk to your quarterback. And I'm sure that's why Jermaine Pratt got fired. He was like, "Come on, bro! Like, we can't do this every single week, man."
When I think about everything, to kind of go along with what you just said, a little bit of a different topic, but it kind of is the same thing. When I look at the Raiders this offseason, man, it's insane how directionless every single hire they made is. They like, what I mean by that is you have a roster that's not ready to win, right? So you bring in John Spytek. That makes sense because John Spytek is the guy who you gave him a 5-year contract. You hope, not to say he's going to finish the whole thing out, but you hope that he does. That's why you gave him a 5-year contract. That's a big contract. And, his job is to build the team and literally build the team. They don't like to call it a rebuild. It's not really a rebuild, to be honest with you.
We're winning now.
It's a build. There's nothing to rebuild. They need talent. They don't have talent to get rid of. They just need to keep adding it. It's just a build. But that's why you bring in John Spytek, and he did that in the draft, I thought. All those guys are developmental guys. So, and to be honest with you, besides Genty, none of them have really looked particularly good. Darian Porter has a little bit, but, like 2 games. So verdict is definitely still out on all of them. But these are guys that Spytek picked up who have legitimate game-changing ability, pretty much every single one of them. They're just all raw. None of them have the fundamental side, They all need to learn that, except for Genty and Besh. And everybody else. Like, when you look at Dante Thornton, you theorize what Dante Thornton could be, and it's just like fucking hearts in your eyes, It's like everything that this dude has naturally, but he has so much to work on.
But does he have that character, man? Because I've heard him, I've seen him on interviews with Oak Las Vegas, Graf and them. And, I hear him talking it. I don't know, man. A lot of that scares me. And watching this film at Tennessee, I never,
I hear
he
you.
was like a third string dude. He was never that guy. For a fourth round pick, it was just crazy to me. I don't think anybody would have picked him. He probably would have been a UDFA, and they could have got him that way. I mean, so when you draft guys like that, you draft guys like the damn what the I don't even forgot his name. The damn quarterback they tried to make a wide receiver. You know, you
Oh,
draft
yeah.
you draft guys like this, bro, and you're trying to tell me that Spytek's doing a good job. Half the nation thinks Spytek's doing okay. The other half thinks he needs to go with Pete Carroll right now. Like, um, how do you feel like that? Because I'm looking at these guys, and I know Charles Grant was a developmental project, but do you really need to take a developmental project that could be maybe 2 years down the road at three? And then you look at a guy like Caleb Rogers, right? He played tackle, most of his career. You're going to move him into guard. We're struggling with horribly with DJ Glaze on the outside. He looks worse than he did his rookie year. He seems lost on every single play. I counted 6 plays last night, where the dude's standing there with both arms out like this, just looking side to side. Nobody's around him. I don't know what he was doing, like waving to the crowd and shit. I don't know what this dude is doing out there, but
Oh,
DJ
he's
Glaze is
regressed
just,
so much.
he's just, oh my god, the
It's
aggression is not
horrible.
even the word, bro. He's just like, he forgot fundamentals just completely. Like, it's like Pete Carroll and Brendan Carroll came in, and half the players on the offensive line forgot how to play. Michael Mayer is worse at blocking. Brock Bowers has digressed in blocking. You have Ian Thomas, who's a damn good blocker, hasn't been blocking well. Meredith, like I said, was the fifth highest graded guard in all of football last year. Only playing 7 starts at the guard position. He looks like he's digressed, but they're moving him, jumping him around. Like, everybody on this team has went backwards. Brock Bowers, is still Brock Bowers, but catches that he would have made last year, he's not making this year.
Yeah.
Those catches that he was laying out for Aiden O'Connell, for Gardner Minshew, that he was stretching out, jumping up in the air, jumping over people's head. He's not showing that effort this year. I don't see it. Like the touchdown they had, you got Brock Bowers one-on-one. That's a touchdown all day with any quarterback in the NFL. I don't care who it is. That's a touchdown all day. You got Brock one-on-one. He runs his route. He turns. He's in front of the guy. There's no way the dude's reaching over him and outpowering Brock Bowers for that ball. And Geno throws it over the pylons. It's not even in the end zone. It's not even in the end zone.
Yeah.
But you're the most accurate quarterback in the NFL for the past 3 years, with plenty of time in the pocket. There was no problem with that. Man, like, the whole team is digressed. But how do you feel about this defensive line? How do you feel about this defensive line? Because I see, you know, not much progression from Tyree Wilson. I know we've talked about Tyree in the past. He makes plays here and there, but then he's non-existent. But then I have to look at the coaching staff and how much is he out there, right? Max Crosby's out there 90%, 100% of the plays. But you got Tyree Wilson, who's out there 30, 40% of the plays, whose numbers aren't much different than Max Crosby. Is that a problem to you? Like, do you see a problem with this? You see, Malcolm Kuntz has been non-existent, but he plays less than 50% of the snaps. I mean, how do you get in a rhythm, right? How do you get going when you're constantly in a rotation out there?
I hear you, man. I hear you. I do want to go back to what I started to talk about, because it does tie into something else that you started to talk about, and that's none of the hires on this team really seem to make sense. The John Spytek thing made sense, like I said, and then I continue to say, like, from there, nothing else made sense. And not only did it not make sense, but I would say that it's just been unfair to Spytek. What I mean by that is, you hire Spytek to add talent to this team, and simultaneously you bring in Pete Carroll. Understand, Pete Carroll's 74 years old. There is no, like, time to rebuild because he's 74 years old. You bring Pete Carroll in for one reason: win right now. So I'm not mad that Pete Carroll's trying to win right now, but I am a little confused on why the Raiders would do this. So at the same time, what this means is, if you're John Spytek now, not only do you have to get all these guys for the future and add talent, but you also have to do your best to bring in all these veterans that you can, so that way you can try to win now. But hold on, you can't tie long-term money into this, because then you're not going to be able to build the team the way that you want to build it. So now you have to give out 1-year deal to guys like Jamal Adams, who's actually been playing pretty darn well. Jamal Adams has exceeded all my expectations, to be honest. You got to bring.
And then he's out there 50% of the snaps.
Which is silly. You bring in guys like Landon Roberts, Devin White.
He's out there 80.
Neither who have been playing well, but I got to admit, as bad as Devin White has been, I thought he was going to be even worse. He's actually made a big play or two, and I'm surprised by that. You bring in guys like Jeremy Chin on a low deal, who's been fine. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining about the guys
playing the linebacker role.
Yeah, and other
coverage,
guys,
he's ass cheeks.
Absolutely. You bring in Eric Stokes, who's been really good. And I'm not mad at how I actually think how John Spytek did this is very smart, because, like I said, he brought in enough guys that could have easily. I mean, we're talking about a few different special teams plays. Keep all the bad Geno Smith plays in, but change a few special teams thing. This team is about 500 right now, and they're in really good competitiveness for the playoffs, if you will. But Spytek has had to really bring in just veterans on really short deals, and not a lot of guys are going to come to a team like the Raiders if they're going to sign for cheap deals. They're going to go to like the Eagles, or they're going to go to Washington. Washington, who, not good now, but this offseason,
you have a chance.
Exactly. So I do think that Spytek, because like I said, it's so unfair. You have to draft for the future, and then you have to simultaneously bring in vets to win now. It's like, well, what direction are we headed? Both at once? What the hell? So you got to do both at once. And I really think he did do a good job doing both at once. And these guys, like, before this offseason, we would have been talking, and we probably did talk about, like, he brought in Eric Stokes. I remember us having a conversation about this, actually. You asked me who I thought the starting cornerbacks would be. I said without hesitation, Jacorian Bennett, Darian Porter. Porter, who hasn't sniffed out the field, Jacorian Bennett, who got traded. I never expected Eric Stokes to be even close to this good. So these guys are exceeding my expectations for sure. So I'm not complaining about it at all. But I'm just saying, if you're John Spytek, how the hell, like, what? Your hands are basically tied. You have the Raiders not only brought in Pete Carroll, but then they made Chip Kelly the highest paid coordinator in the entire NFL. And why did they do that? So they could win now. And if you're John Spytek, guess what? You got to keep building a win now roster with the team that has Max Crosby, AJ Cole, Ashton Genty, and Brock Bowers, and the other guys are all replaceable. I'm sorry, and I'm not saying they're all bad. Don't get me wrong. Colton Miller's really good too. I'd keep Colton Miller. All the rest expendable. I'm sorry. I'm not saying they're not good. I'm not saying Michael Mayer's not good.
I see upside from guys like Jonah Laulu, which
me too.
I would not get rid of.
Me too.
Kai Blue Kelly I'd keep him around just to, probably in, with a better, I don't know, more time, and not being just, you're that guy instead of having to compete for the job. That was another one of those. Pete Carroll just said, okay, I'm planting you here, I'm planting you here, I'm planting you here, but we're going to compete. We're going to compete at every position except for these positions that I named: quarterback, linebacker, right guard, like center. Anybody else is competing. Oh wait, not wide receiver, not the safety position, but we're competing. Oh wait, not this position. Like he just plug and played too many guys and said this is the starter, and the whole camp was preaching, compete. If you're either competing or you ain't. You're either competing or you ain't. Well, we ain't. we ain't, and we haven't. And the fact that there was no quarterback competition, the fact that you still haven't got any quarterback taking any snaps with the ones. What if Geno gets hurt? What if he does get hurt because he can't run, he can't slide, he gets hit all the time? What if one of those plays take him out of the game? What do you do? What do? You have a quarterback now, whether it's Kenny, whether it's Aiden O'Connell, whoever it is, Cam Miller, that comes in that has no chemistry. Sure to hell don't have no chemistry with Will Putnam. I mean, I guess Aiden, I guess Kenny Pickett would have more chemistry with Will Putnam because he's running with the twos. And Putnam was, the center on the twos. So I think Kenny Pickett would have more chemistry with Will Putnam than he would with Jordan Meredith. But if something happens to Geno, you have no backup plan. You have no quarterback taking any reps, has no timing. The same thing that the Cleveland Browns have done to Shedeur Sanders, right? The coach admitted he's taking no first team reps. But now this guy has to come in and play with, number one receivers, number two, number three guys when he's been throwing, third and fourth strings all season long, and you have no chemistry with these guys, and you're gonna throw them in the, to the wolves in Vegas. Not like we're any wolves there, but but it's just crazy. It's crazy to me to think a coach with 40 years experience, right, with all this experience that talks about all he's done is win, 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 baby, win, no matter what. And then and you're making these decisions that to not have anybody run with the ones, like, and I've said this and I've said it and I'm gonna die saying it. The reason Kenny Pickett has not been put in the game, the reason Aiden O'Connell is not activated, because the minute they come out in one of these games and win one of these games or do better, Pete Carroll's done. He's already, which he's probably already done anyways, but he's fired. He's moving down the road if any of these quarterbacks come in. And we've seen damn well it was on the sideline. Gino's over there hurting, limping. He got a knee bruise, hurt his vajayjay, can't get back in the game, right? But then all of a sudden, Pete Carroll's like, oh, no, he's coming back. He's ready to go. Bro, he was on there on the bike with his face like this.
Yeah.
Dying, couldn't pedal, but all of a sudden he's back in the game and he's going, because you know what, Pete Carroll went over there and said, if Kenny Pickett comes in and he's better than you, he's taking your job. And Gino said, hell no, I'm going back in. But put me in, coach, put me in. I'm telling you that's what happened. I know damn well he does not want, at this point, you cannot put any other quarterback in. And I'm surprised he went with Will, putting him at the center position to change that, because this dude will not admit he's wrong. Calling it, this is my team. In his press conference, he said earlier today, this is my team and I stand on the decision I made. Like, oh my God, bro. Like, so you're telling me it was your idea to run 25 play action passes on 40 plays? Like, that makes sense.
It's and then it's like, to continue it, and we talk about the play calling, and then the Chip Kelly is another layer that makes no sense, because like I said, his whole style has always been, and it's been this year too, it's we're better than you, and I don't care. Like, I don't care that you know what we're gonna do. We're just gonna beat you. Except the Raiders aren't better than anybody. So it's what one of these hires after Spytech makes sense. And even if you don't think Spytech's done a good job, there's no way that a person cannot understand that the Raiders wanted a young GM to have some continuity, and hopefully, whether you think he's doing good or bad, like I'm sure everybody can understand where the Raiders was at with that. But everybody else is like, dude, come on. And I get it, man. It's Vegas. It's harsh. When you do bad in Vegas, like you know about it, and they let you know about it, and they don't like let off. It's not like Oakland, where you were bad in Oakland and it's like, all right, whatever, we're bad in Oakland. This is who we are. No, you're in Vegas now, man. You're a spectacle. You're a literal spectacle.
What happens in Vegas does not stay in Vegas. That's a false statement.
Yeah, and so I don't want to say I understand, but at the same time, I do kind of understand the rush, like the sense of urgency to start winning now. But then when I look at this roster, I cannot understand how they ever thought right now was the time to start doing that,
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand any of the plan, really. It's just from the jump, it doesn't go. But I want to run something by you. How do you feel? Like, I'm looking at the Tom Brady, in the booth laughing, making jokes while the Raiders are getting demolished, when the dude's got $350 something million invested in this team, right? And I'm looking at the fact that he's been talking to Chip Kelly before games. They call each other, they talk about the playbook. They're talking about all this shit. I really have a feeling that they're just letting Pete Carroll do his thing with Gino behind the scenes. But I think the draft, it shows the draft, Spytech drafting all these developmental players. I think he's like, okay, you believe we're winning now, but really we're rebuilding, right? Really, it's a rebuild. You go ahead and think, we're going to win now. We know this team is ass and y'all ain't winning shit. We know. Like, you got Gino as a quarterback. Come on. Like, you got, young receivers. You got offensive line that, is a revolving door. You never know who's going to play what position. If they do play the position, it's the wrong position, and it's a position they've never played before. So let's put them at that position, and let's take another guy and put him at another position he's never played, and we'll make this work. Like, so, I mean, the writing is on the wall that there's no way a GOAT, a football mind like Tom Brady could be looking at this and be going, oh, yeah, he's going to get it together. They're going to get it together. This offense is coming together. We're getting close. We're almost there, right? We're almost there, right? Somebody's going to win us a game. There's no way. There's no way. You can't look at it and see any light at the end of the tunnel. So I really feel like Spy Tech and Tom Brady are, behind the scenes kind of trying to rebuild it. It looks like the draft was, Cody Lindenberg, because they went and got a bunch of, 1-year linebackers, right? They didn't get rid of, Tommy Eichenberg. Still, for the life of me, can't understand why Amari Gaynor was released. It just makes no sense to me. The dude can cover. He could play all three linebacker positions. He could play defensive end. Like, it was an asset that you didn't even give a chance to compete in camp like they did Jack Jones. But anyways, so I feel like if you look at all these guys that, are down the road type of guys, I feel like they drafted for, maybe 2 years when Pete Carroll's not going to be here.
Absolutely. And I do got to say, one guy that probably the guy that is talked about the least in this draft class, Charles Grant, the tackle.
Yeah.
He has, so I've done my studies on him, and he looks like he can be interesting for sure. He has a lot to like, but he's very raw. Everybody knew that already. But he, from analysts, like very prominent analysts, much more prominent than myself, many have said that this guy is a guy who, one of the few they could see as a starting left tackle in the league 3-4 years from now. So, take that with a grain of salt. But I think that it goes to show that they really are shooting for the Spy Techs in particular. We're shooting for the stars with these guys. He was like, there's not a lot of talent on this team. And to be honest with you, it kind of, if you really think about it, it might even line up with DJ Glaze. A lot of people thought it was going to line up with Colton Moore because, he's coming off of, 1 year on his contract. Would he get the extension? Would he not? He got the extension, of course. But I think he's going to end up lining with DJ Glaze. I think he's going to take DJ Glaze's position.
That's how I feel exactly, man. I think you nailed it right there, 100%.
And of course, that's assuming development goes in favor of the Raiders. It could just as easily, he's a developmental player for a reason. It could just as easily go flat, and nothing ever said of it. But the Tom Brady stuff is interesting, man. I think this is my thing. When you're a guy as good as Tom Brady, and I think this translates to every sport, correct me if I'm wrong, because off the top of my head, I can't think of anything, but every single guy who has been great at their sport and has taken a management role of any sort, I'm talking John Elway, I'm talking Tom Brady, I'm talking Michael Jordan. I'm a massive diehard Hornets fan, so I know the Michael Jordan experience very well, and it's sad. This is my thing with these guys. This is what I think it is. To these guys, the game was so easy that they are just bad at building teams because to them, it was just natural. It was just easy. So it's almost like they can't understand how it's not easy to other guys. That's what I think it is with a guy like Tom Brady, too. It seems to be what it was with Michael Jordan, seems to be what it was with John Elway and other greats who have assumed these great roles. I can't really think of one great player who, coach or not, has really been great. I can think of a whole crap load of very average players who had to survive off of their IQ, who ended up being great coaches, GMs. But other than that, and I think that's what it is with Tom Brady, because you see Tom Brady, he's favoring a guy like Cam Miller, and he sees what he saw in himself in Cam Miller, and I watch Cam Miller. I don't see anything special about Cam Miller at all. I don't know how anybody can. Not saying that the kid is talentless, don't get me wrong, but I don't see anything special that can have a guy like Tom Brady being like, this is the dude. Like, how? Like, what do you see in this dude?
The only thing I see is that, he does have an arm. He's, pretty crafty back there.
Absolutely.
He has decent pocket awareness. But I think the biggest upside is, he's on the practice squad going against the first team defense, which, I think Geno should be there doing that right now. But, he's taking those reps against the number ones. And I think that's another thing is you have, the first team going against the second team. Who was on our second team, bro? Who was our second team defense? Like, so when they say that Caleb Rogers had a bad practice, so he didn't start this week, in a walkthrough? Like, you're doing walkthroughs. How do you have a bad practice in a walkthrough, for one? But two, who is going against him that blew him up so much in practice that he didn't even get dressed? Why isn't that guy on the first team defense? Like, because if you got guys that are putting guys on the bench and leaving them sitting at home because they're dominating them so much, shouldn't that dude be on the defense? Like, so I just don't understand anything that Pete Carroll comes out of his mouth, bro. And none of it, absolutely none of it, makes sense. The dude stutters so much, he bobbles so much, like, and when he had throw, and then he get over here, and then you seen that play was I caught the ball. I'm like, what the fuck did he even say, bro? What did he say? You ask him a question, and he's totally answering somebody else's question that he heard in the back of his mind. It was like Hondo asked him the question, do you think people are going to start to see that there's favoritism in here, blah blah blah. He's like, I the question. I don't even know how to question. I don't even know how to answer that question. That's a question. Like, what do you mean, bro? Like, this dude should not be a head coach. It's horrible. It's a bad look for the Raiders, and it just gets worse. But speaking of quarterbacks, man, how do you feel about Tom Brady coming out and saying that CJ Carr was the closest thing to Joe Burrow he's seen in a long time?
Dude, see, it's things like, and I like CJ Carr, I really do, but it's things like that that's kind of just like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, to me, like what are you talking about? It's no disrespect to CJ Carr, it's none. But we're talking, that claim is basically, this is the best quarterback I've seen in 5 years. That is crazy to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? That is like, why? When did Joe Burrow come out of the draft? 2019, maybe. So we might be talking 6 years back. This is insane to me.
Right?
And again, this is no disrespect to CJ Carr. I think if the Raiders drafted CJ Carr, I would be like, all right, like that's cool. I wouldn't be mad at that at all or anything like that. But it's just like, dude, why? Another thing, I'll double back to too that we talked about very early, and I forgot with this one too, so I'll double back, is the defensive line. It's weird because what's funny actually is they trade Jacorian Bennett for Thomas Booker because of the whole Christian Wilkins thing. They're like, oh, the defensive tackle unit is going to be bad, or, well, they fear that. They didn't think that, they feared it. Defensive tackle unit has been actually incredible, honestly. Lualu,
bright spots, kind of, huh?
Yeah. Lualu has looked good. Thomas Booker, when he's played, has looked good. Adam Butler has always been pretty good. I'm sure there's others that Tyree Wilson plays a lot of defensive tackle. He's looked fine. And it's almost like Thomas Booker, and he hasn't even looked bad, Thomas Booker, but it's almost like he can barely find field time because everybody else has been so good too. And I ain't mad at the trade, honestly. I wouldn't have done it, but I'm not mad at it. But it is funny because it's like, dang, you could actually use Jacorian Bennett right now. You don't need the defensive tackle, but you could actually use Jacorian Bennett pretty bad right now. But I do think, though, the defensive line, if I'm looking at it, I think Tyree Wilson is the third best player on that defensive line, not just potential-wise, but just how he's playing right now. I really do. I think he's better than Malcolm Kuntz. I think he's better than Adam Butler. I think Adam Butler is better at what he's better at than Tyree Wilson, if that makes sense. Like, I think Adam Butler is a better pass rusher than Tyree Wilson is in anything, but Tyree Wilson is just better all around. I think Jonah Lualu is better, though. I think Max and Jonah are better than Tyree. I think Tyree's the third best player on that line, which you brought up. He's playing like 40% of snaps. Listen, man, I understand that Tyree's not out there when he's out there every rep. I understand that it's not a game record play every play, and you almost want to see that from a 7th overall pick, right?
But it's not from Max either, though. That's my point. And I know he's getting double and chipped and all that shit, but this is my problem with Max, and I don't mean to cut you off, but when you're playing, bro, 90% of the snaps out there, right? You're playing, 90% of the snaps or more, and your numbers are lower than guys that are playing 75% of the snaps. How are you the greatest defensive lineman in the history of the NFL? I don't get it. Like, and then, you're taking snaps away from other guys when this dude should be resting. You get tired. You can see there's plays where he's tired, bro. He's like, man, you got 340-pound dudes just working on your ass all day long, getting chipped, body pressure, beat up, like smacked in your knees, bro, and you can't tell me this dude is not tired. So I don't understand how people want to dog on Tyree Wilson, but I promise you, if Tyree Wilson got 90% of the snaps, I think his numbers would be way higher, and up there with some of these guys that are or even if he got 75 to 80% of the snaps, maybe not on the outside, but on the inside, I feel like they would.
And he's doing this from everywhere too. Max is kind of exclusively at his position. None of this is Max hate, obviously. We all know he's an upper echelon defensive end to say the least. But it really does just put kind of everything else into perspective. Tyree's doing this from everywhere. He's playing right side defensive tackle. He's playing nose tackle. He's playing left side defensive tackle. He's playing edge rusher. He's playing outside linebacker, edge rusher. He's doing literally everything there is to do. I've seen the dude drop back into coverage. Not saying he's particularly good in coverage. I'm just saying I've seen him do everything.
Yeah.
And man, it's crazy, man. I've been a big Tyree supporter. I've not been a Tyree. A lot of people, they're always like, well, you're just making excuses for him. You're just looking at the potential. When I support Tyree, I'm not saying what he could be. I'm saying what he is. There's no theorizing. Yeah. He could be better, absolutely. And I'm not denying that either. But I'm saying what he is right now. If he never improves a day from today, he's a good player. 7th overall pick, probably not. But I'm just saying he's a good player. And I do think today he's the 3rd best player on the Raiders defensive line.
So I was, people hate on me for rocking with Tyree still. And, all you hear is, we could have had Jalen Carter. We could have had Jalen Carter. We could have had Jalen Carter. And, I've done this so many times on this channel. I'm like, bro, if you take the amount of snaps that they've had and put them together, Tyree Wilson has one less sack, has more pressures, has way better run stopping. Like, it's not even close when it comes to the run stopping. His numbers are up there. But the difference is Carter plays 85-90% of the snaps. Tyree Wilson plays 40-45% of the snaps. And in the games that he started compared to Carter, and I'm not saying he's Jalen Carter or has that get off or anything, but playing inside, outside, moving all around and still having those numbers, I just don't think he gets enough respect, because people, he was a 1st overall pick. Well, maybe he's not doing enough in practice, but we look at how this team is coached and the players that play and the players that get, just thrown into positions. And I feel like Tyree just doesn't get, the respect he deserves. And now he has those plays where it looks like, man, that dude ain't even trying.
Absolutely.
But then he has those plays where, he's chasing down quarterbacks. He's getting fumbles. I've seen the dude, be over here with a dude holding them and he's reaching out with those, 8-foot, ape arms and just grabbing dudes and pulling them by the back. Like, the dude is strong. He's big. He has a 7-foot wingspan. Like, you can eat up bodies in the middle. You're going to take double teams away from Max if you just put him next to Max, right? Like, to me, why wouldn't you be next to Max Crosby? When they lost Christian Wilkins, Tyree should be the starter, right? He practices with Max every day, bro. He's with Max every day. They're working one-on-one together. Don't you think it would make more sense to, like, have those two dudes next to each other, like, to have them next to each other and take some of the double teams away from Max, tape up some of those chip blocks, or leave Tyree one-on-one.
But and to answer the latest comment in the chat, Jalen Carter is definitely awesome. And nobody's saying like Tyree Wilson is as good as Jalen Carter at all. But it's Jalen Carter. It's Jalen Carter's Jalen Carter. Tyree Wilson's Tyree Wilson. You can't just be like Tyree Wilson's not good because Jalen Carter is better. That's kind of silly. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much all we're trying to say here. Like it's not. Oh, Tyree Wilson's as good as Jalen Carter or anything like that. It's just they're two separate players, like
and one's on the field way more than the other one. One has, great guys next to him, and the other one has dudes that are, UDFAs trying to make a team. So you got number 1 draft pick after number 1 draft pick on that line next to you. Like, there's a big difference to me. Like, you can look at I agree. You can look at the film and the get off and the technique and all that, but to me it makes a big difference where if a guy, you can't compare a guy, and we hear all this, you can't compare this, you can't compare that. Just like, we can't compare Jackson Dart like I did all year long in the last 2 years to, to that guy over there and Josh Allen in the Bills. Like I've heard those not even a comparison. How is it not? How is it not a comparison? They're both mobile as hell. They're both not afraid, afraid to take the hit. They both makes plays that are, crazy. They're willing to, throw the ball into double, triple coverage and take interceptions because they know next time they're getting back, they're going to score. Like to me, I think it's a good comparison. And I'm not nobody's comparison saying, it's a comparison. I'm just saying people are mad at the Jalen Carter. We didn't get Jalen Carter and we got Tyree, but um, I feel like if he just had more reps, I think he would be better. I could be wrong. He could be trash. Like the more reps he gets, maybe he gets tired and he doesn't want to play at all.
And it's also like the other thing is I think Malcolm Kuntz really personifies this, right? It's also people get stuck on he's not playing as good as they imagine a seventh overall pick playing, which fair, he's not playing as well as you imagine a seventh overall pick playing. I get that. But look at a guy like I said, Malcolm Kuntz, who's a third round draft pick. He is worse than Tyree Wilson at everything, in my opinion. Everything. Some things are not even close. I don't understand how Malcolm Kuntz ever got starting reps over Tyree, but whatever. What I'm trying to say is
I
third
think his
round pick.
bend is his bend and get off is better on the edge. He's got that.
No,
He's
that is
got
true.
that. He's
You
got
are
that
right.
elite bend where he can get underneath the tackle. Like
You are right.
he does have crazy bend, and Tyree don't have none of that.
You are right about that for sure. For sure. He doesn't really have it this year though. But anyway, you are right about that. But Malcolm Kuntz third round pick, everybody has no problem saying that this dude's a great player. Who I don't even think he's a great player. I think he's a fine player. I don't think he's a great player, but everybody will say he's a great player. Third round pick, right? Tyree Wilson, better than Malcolm Kuntz, but he was seventh overall pick. Better than the guy that everybody says is a great player, but because he's seventh overall pick and not playing as good as they think a seventh overall pick should play, he's bad. But he's better than the player that they call a great player. So
He's never going to live up to the seventh round pick. That was just a horrible pick, and people have to get over the fact that where he was picked and just look at the player because he can never live up to that. There's no way. Just at this point, like, come on, you're 3 years in.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, I know you. I know. Again, talking to the chat, I know that you never said Tyree's bad. Absolutely. None of this talk is like supposed to be shade at anybody in particular.
No, no.
It's kind of just like the whole thing like that. Fans tend to do. Nobody in the chat. I'm not saying anybody in the chat. Just you go on Twitter, you'll see it right away. Right away.
I blast people on Twitter all the time. I don't care. I got no shame. Like I've been a Raider fan 50 years, man. I bleed for this team. I die for this team. I've spent millions and millions of dollars on this team, traveling, all over, taking memorabilia, like, and for them to put that product out there, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go off when I can. I'm gonna go off when I can.
No, I do understand the Jalen Carter thing. I do. To me, I think it's I've had this opinion, and I think if you look around the NFL, it's really aging like wine. And my take is this: when it comes to defensive tackles, I don't want to say what I don't know how to say this. They're not game changing. I feel like they're important, but the level of skill needed to play it. I mean, look at the Raiders, for example, case in point. They have about 1,000,001 guys who are playing it just fine. They have two rookies who can't even sniff the rotation. And I mean, they're not none of them are really game changing though, but they just have an infinite supply of them. I think Aaron Donald has really because Aaron Donald was such a unicorn. He may be the
Yeah.
best. He's the best defensive player of my lifetime, my football fandom lifetime, I should say, by far. So that doesn't include Lawrence Taylor. I don't judge guys that I never watched play live,
I mean,
down to down.
you got to put Miles Garrett in there though. But
Oh, he's close. He's close, man.
to me, that's the greatest defensive player of all time. I think he's better than there is nobody that's got 12 plus sacks in his whole entire every year of his career. That on shitty teams every single year. Like this dude is he's not even human.
But it's like I really think Aaron Donald came and people were just like, holy shit, defensive tackles are the greatest position in the world. And it's like, no, it just so happens that Aaron Donald is doing something nobody's ever done before. He's basically an edge rusher at defensive tackle, and somehow well, somehow putting up edge rusher statistics, and then everybody kind of
Right.
expects that, and it's like, no, and you got guys like Dexter Lawrence who are absolute. Dexter Lawrence, in my opinion, now is the best defensive tackle in the league. I don't uh, I don't fear Dexter Lawrence, and I don't mean that as in like I think Dexter Lawrence isn't going to be a game changer, because that's not true. That's not what I mean to say. But I mean, if I'm running, for example, I'm not going to not have a running down because the Giants have Dexter Lawrence. I mean, case in point, teams keep running at the Giants and keep beating the Giants. You know what I'm saying? Dexter Lawrence is cream of the crop. Dude is as
Yeah.
dominant as defensive tackle as it gets. But I say all this to say, like, we see Jalen Carter being one of the upper echelon defensive tackles, and it's always like, you could have Jalen Carter, you could have Jalen Carter. But, like, if you don't have the Eagles' defense,
Yeah,
you
and
don't
he
have all these
plays
other things.
like he said, he plays. He plays that one tech, bro. He plays one tech, the two
Yeah,
eye, and that's basically it. You can move Tyree any position on that line, bro. He's like a rotisserie piece. You just slide him wherever you want to. Like he's gonna fill in. So I think that's more valuable, just to me. And that wingspan, like I said, that 7 foot wingspan. I just feel like he's more valuable player. But I feel like I know what you're saying, and I feel that way with Max Crosby, right? Like Miles Garrett is different because whether he's doubled, whether he's chipped, he still gets to the quarterback, right? This is not a knock on Max Crosby.
yeah, it's
He just
stupid. It's
he just
stupid.
doesn't have those muscles. He just doesn't have the strength, right, to be that dominant guy. He has a quick get off, but a good tackle is just going to keep pushing him to the outside. And if he spins inside, you're going to take one step and you're there. And he's a game changer, yes, in some ways, but if you don't have a solid secondary, if you don't have, a top linebacker group, your defensive line is null and void, bro. Like it does you no good to get to a quarterback, to get pressure on a quarterback, to get hits on a quarterback. That just means the quarterback got the ball out and you didn't get a sack, right? And 99% of the time, when the quarterback gets the ball out under pressure, there's somebody open and there's a big play. So, if you don't have a defensive backfield, so I think, you know, I get what you're saying, like that they're not really, game changers, but there are certain guys like Aaron Donald who did, every time every time the ball was snapped, he's in the quarterback's
Oh
face.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, over two
absolutely.
guys, three guys, right? You know that you're gonna have to go either left or right when that dude's in the game because he's he's gonna be there, right? He's gonna be there. So, yeah, there's not too many of them. So we
Yeah,
wouldn't spend
there's really not.
160 on like 100 million on Christian Wilkins, who is not one of those dudes either.
And to your point too, Christian Wilkins wasn't one of those dudes. But if you watch the Christian Wilkins film, he looked just fine. He looked great even. So you got a guy like Christian Wilkins who looks great, and he's still not what you can consider a game changer at defensive tackle. How many are there? I don't really.
Right?
It
Yeah.
and I think of elite guys too, like Chris Jones. Like, is Chris Jones a game changer? I don't know. I don't think so. Now, does Chris Jones have elite abilities? Absolutely. Is he an elite pass rusher? Absolutely. If he was on the Raiders, would the Raiders be better? Absolutely. These are no brainers. So I'm not
Yeah.
saying it to say like that, but I'm saying, like, in reality, like, I just think the position is so overvalued because some guy like Aaron Donald came in and did something nobody's ever done from the defensive tackle position, and people are just like, oh my god. And it's just like, dude, this is such a unicorn though. I don't want to say we're never going to see this again, but like, if history means anything, probably never
Like
going to see this again.
like Reggie White, I mean,
Yeah,
it's yeah, Reggie White was one of those dudes. He was the game changer, and I don't see Max as that guy. I just don't like. He's not consistent. There's ways that you can get around it. You get the ball out fast. You roll your quarterback out the opposite way, right? They're constantly running at him. I've never ever seen a team run directly at Miles Garrett. I've never seen a team run directly at Aaron Donald. I've never seen a team run directly at Jalen Carter, right? But these teams, they run directly at Max a lot of times. And I don't, because I don't know if he's out of place or just what it is, but if you look at Max, all of his tackles, like 90% or more for a loss, are opposite side of the field from behind, right? He gets
absolutely.
through and he's making plays, but when they run at him, it's horrible. He can't. It's like if he's standing still or flat footed, the dude cannot tackle. Like so, when you have ways to beat these guys, they don't make them game changers, right? Game changers are guys that there's no way around it. You know that dude's gonna disrupt, constantly every single play, um, and it's gonna be a problem. And no matter if you double team him and chip him, right? He's still gonna be that problem. He's just you got and I think if Max would just work on and I know it's gonna take away his speed, but damn, if you was Miles Garrett size and still had Max Crosby speed, bro, like there wouldn't be nothing you couldn't do, right?
Well, yeah, to your point about most of his big plays being like on the other side of the field, that's if there's an elite trait with Max Crosby, and there certainly is, but if there's like the big elite one, it's always been his motor. Everybody knows that, so it would make sense that those are the plays that other people aren't going to get to, and he makes great plays on because of his motor. But yeah, Miles Garrett, man, I used to have this talk with Raider fans like three years ago, 2 years ago, and I kind of gave up on it. And I think Raider fans now have given up on it too. It always used to be who's better, Max or Miles Garrett.
It's not even close. There shouldn't even be a conversation, bro.
It's not.
It shouldn't even be a conversation.
And it's no disrespect to Max Crosby, but it's Miles Garrett is the best player in the league, period. Any position. Like he's number one. And it's Max Crosby is not number one. Max Crosby is probably not even top three at his own position, in my opinion. I think it's Miles.
The last 2 years, I mean, yeah, he missed a lot of last year, but this year, he's not even a top 10, bro, in any category except for tackles for loss. That's it.
I think most people would have Miles Garrett, TJ Watt, and Michael Parsons at least above Max, if nobody else. At least those three.
Now, I'm looking like Nick Benito, like the dude.
Nick Benito is absolutely going insane.
Like, this dude is another guy that you just can't stop. And not like you said, not a knock on Max, but there's ways to control Max. There's ways to stop him. But these other guys, I mean, you could stop them, but it's hard as hell. It's going to take half your team. You're taking three guys, and somebody's going to, they have the other players to take advantage of it. The Raiders don't seem like they have enough players to take advantage of Max being double teamed, of Max being chipped,
Yeah, the thing with Max that I really think it is because it's mostly, if you notice too, obviously a lot of Raider fans think like Max is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but it's mostly non-Raider fans who watch a Raiders game and they're like, Max Crosby is the greatest things ever. And I really think Max Crosby is the biggest case ever of like Ferrari in a trailer park. And so people just see how bad the Raiders are, see Max Crosby is not bad, and they're like, holy shit, this guy is amazing, which he is amazing. Don't get me wrong. He is amazing. But
yeah, I think the horrible team makes him look better than he is because he's all we got.
Right.
That's all you see. It's all you hear. He's the face of the franchise, right? It's like,
and people might be like, can't you say the same thing about about Miles Garrett? Because Browns are horrible, but it's like, dude, Miles Garrett single-handedly destroys teams. Like I've watched him shed 3 blocks on plays, 3 different players. I mean, by 3 blocks,
different players,
countless times. I mean, I'm not saying once or twice. I'm saying countless times. I've seen it multiple times per game, and obviously we've seen Max do it here and there. I see Miles Garrett do it pretty much every game and get to the quarterback. I mean, and this is no knock on Max again because we're talking about the best player in the world of any position. So it's like, if you're not as good as the best player in the world, it's not a knock on you.
Not a knock on you. You just ain't him, bro.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, you guys are like underselling Max or anything." Like, no, I'm not. I think Max is a elite player. If he's not elite, he's right there anyway. But we're talking about the best of the best, like number one, any position. That ain't Max.
No, and I, again. My opinion on Max Crosby is, to me, Max Crosby is one of the worst tacklers in the NFL. I have never seen Max Crosby hit somebody with a shoulder. I have never seen him light somebody up. If you look at his sacks, if you look at his highlight film, the not highlight film, just watch games. When he gets to guys, he's sliding, he's falling down, he's tripping into tackles. Like there's a lot of bad plays from Max Crosby that people just overlook because of his name and who he is in this franchise. And those plays hurt us. But people don't talk about those. If you look at other guys, TJ Watts and Miles Garrett and Nick Benitos and even lesser guys like Jalen, what you call it, that just got traded. Like these dudes tackle, like they hit people. When they hit you, you know it, man. They got a shoulder in your gut, right? Like they're wrapping up your feet. Like I see so many times, even in the Titans game, right? The Titans game, Max Crosby comes around the back end. He's got Cam Ward just lit out, dead to rights. The dude and he jumps on his back, and Cam Ward is carrying Max Crosby, bro. He's carrying him for like 3 steps. And I'm like, bro, he's fighting to get this little tiny quarterback down. And I'm like, come on, bro. Like that's not a good look. And ever since they got rid of the drop step, I think his numbers went way, way down. That where you could lean your weight and drop back to tackle. Yeah. I think that's hurt Max Crosby a lot, bro. A lot of his tackling, if you watch his film, a lot of his tackling is that way. And I think those rules have kind of hindered what he could do, because he's like, damn, like, and I know, like, I mean, if you're the greatest and you're constantly in the gym, this is all, and not a knock, but if you're in the gym from 5 o'clock in the morning to 8 at night, you shouldn't be one of the worst tacklers on the team, bro. Like that should not be a thing. And people are going to hate me and say I'm wrong, but anytime they want to, I'll bring up film after film after film of his highlight plays where, damn, he should have got just on Monday night, right? The strip sack that he had, on Dak Prescott when he came around the edge, like the ball's lodged against his head. Max Crosby's got his hand on the ball. I watched the play 8 times. Max Crosby never tries to rip the ball out. The only reason the ball came out is because Dak Prescott was trying to throw it, and the ball got loose. Like, so you have your hands on the ball, bro. Why aren't you trying to rip that shit? Like, I don't know. Like, to me, if you want to say, I want to be the greatest, and you can't miss plays like that. Those are plays where, yes, it was a fumble, but man, really, it might not have been. If he would have just held the ball against his head, he probably would have never tackled. Somebody else would have had to come get him. So I think fundamentals, man, fundamentals, no matter who you are, no matter how big you are, you could be the face, you could be, recovery and, get praise for that, because I've been there, done that. But I think some people are just, and I'm not saying Max Crosby is overrated, but I'm saying technique wise, like you said, Aiden O'Connell don't have this arm, doesn't have that, but you can say that about Max Crosby when it comes to tackling. Like his tackling is subpar, bro. Like if it's not from behind where he's jumping on a guy, right? A lot of times they're missed tackles.
And I know the thing is, like, I said earlier, like, there's like 4 or 5 guys that I could consider, like, if you cut everybody else besides these 5 guys, it's not the end of the world. Max is one of those 5 guys that you're not going to do that, obviously.
Yeah.
And so when you critique one of those 5 players, it's always going to be met with, like, why are you coming after Max? Like, no, it's not like that. We're kind of just going over some stuff,
Yeah, we're just talking about like shit. When you make that kind of money, is what I'm saying. When you're the third highest paid player in the NFL that's not a quarterback, you should be able to be critiqued, right?
Absolutely,
you're at the top of the pedestal. So everything that you do, that's and not every little thing should be critiqued. But when it happens over and over and over and over and over again, when you see teams constantly running at you and you can't make the play, like, and you're making that much money, but then you say, I just want to be the greatest of all time, then, like, I know, you got to work on some things. You got to do something. Stop boxing and tackle, tackle, because you can't box anybody on the field, bro. I know that's great, motivation and great exercise and all that, but that MMA shit is not doing anything for my Raiders. It's not. You're working on your hand work, but that's great if you're one-on-one. But when does that ever happen? Like, you're never one-on-one. So, man, come on. Let's put some of these, skills to making sure we do our 111 fundamental. You can't be a guy making that much money and be highlighted of missing tackles. But 2 weeks ago, it was, I think, on the 5-yard line, they were getting on a third down or something. They were getting ready. They had like 3rd and 13, right? And Max Crosby goes inside, and this tackle literally just picked him up, spun him out the way. Max got his back turned to him, and he's just pushing him down the field. Max can't do nothing. He's trying to turn around like this, and I'm like, bro, like those are plays you cannot have when you're when you're making that kind of money, bro. Like those plays just look bad, and it was like 3 plays in that game where I seen him just get shoved to the ground, like dominated. Spinning around like a top. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? The play's over, and you're still trying to cut back to the cut back to the field, man. It's, this coaching staff, I swear, this is all coaching staff, right? Let's put Max, let's make him not rush the passer and just stand up here and bat balls. Which he's got a great vertical. He got a great vertical, but what good are you doing the Las Vegas Raiders if you have your best player and, like you said, top 5, top 10, wherever you want to put him on the field, not rushing the passer?
No, absolutely. And people, I know people are going to be like, too, like, oh, Max Crosby is the least of the Raiders Warriors. You don't got to talk about him. Other than AJ Cole, I kind of agree. But like you said, I mean, we criticize Genty for not running outside. We criticize Brock Bowers for not going after balls like he did last year. Everybody.
Besides Gino for 12 interceptions.
Yeah, like. The only guy I'm not going to criticize is AJ Cole because that dude's damn near a punting god. But
you can't even on the blocks. I'm like, man, this is the worst. This is the worst lineup I've ever seen. Like, some guys line up. They kind of feather out. In a little bit. They were in a straight line like this.
Stupid.
He's got a straight line to punt through. Like, not only are you trying to make him, punt the ball and put it in a good position, but you're giving him like 5 feet to punt it through, and you think that's going to work?
But yeah, I just wanted to clear it up because I know there are always people that like listen to a tiny bit of something, and we're not even talking negative about Max. We're just not keeping it all positive. Is it?
You can't.
So people are gonna hear that and be like, "Oh, they're shitting on Max. They're shitting on." Like,
Max was garbage. No, but I did say you could get 3 picks for him though, first round.
like Max is.
I'll stir the pot, bro. I'll stir it. I ain't scared. I want all the smoke. I want all. But no, man, Max is great, bro. Like we all love Max, and there's nobody that can do what he does for his team on another team, bro. Like what he does in the community, what he does, for all his charities and all that, like,
And I'm sure Max will be the first. What does Max tweet every day? Every single time he shares
more
a clip.
Required.
More is yes, that's what it is. He will be the first one to tell you this.
More is required. Yep.
If you sat down with him and you talked to him and you weren't a dick about it, like you suck at tackling, like you would be like,
if you weren't me, then you'd be all right. But yeah, he probably want to smack me in my face, but it's cool.
He would. I'm sure he'd be the first one to tell you, like, hey, you're absolutely right, man. I got to make that tackle. I can't let him spin me around like that. He'd be the first one to tell you. So no, it's not. I don't want anybody to think we're out here just targeting Max.
Yeah, right. I'm trying to get you in trouble over here. You're like, man, I got a reputation over here. What are you doing, Rebel? Jesus.
I don't want to get you in trouble either, because you might be critical of Max, but obviously nobody's out here thinking that Max Crosby is like the reason that the Raiders are bad or anything. You know what I'm saying? Nobody thinks that.
I was on Twitter saying though, Micah Parsons, Max Crosby, Micah Parsons, Max Crosby.
I agree.
But come on, you got this dude that's 24, 25 years old. That's already got the same numbers as Max pretty much on every category, and y'all
and he can play coverage,
and he could cover, and you're trying to trade him for what? For what? Oh, come on! How are we not in on that?
I mean, I agree, man. The only thing that I think sucks with Micah is you're looking at that $50 million a year price tag for an edge rusher, and you're like, holy.
But that would have never happened if it wasn't for Max Crosby and this extension.
You might be right about that.
I think it might have been 2 or 3 years down the road before these guys wanted that, right? Like, Max Crosby, that's another thing. You had, you signed 2 years, you got all your guaranteed money up front. And then when you got no guaranteed money, it's time to restructure. That's hurting a team. That hurts a team. Like, it's not a lot, right? It was only another $3 million, but now you have guaranteed money on the books for another 2 years, and then there's no guarantee for the other 2 years of his contract.
Yeah,
so in 2 more years, we're gonna have this same old song and dance. I'm not playing for no guaranteed money.
And It's like I talked about earlier too. Like if you're spy tech, you keep thinking about the future. You don't want to keep tying money up. And like you said,
Nah,
it's only 3 million this time, so it is what it is. But you don't want to keep doing that song. That's why I know people are looking at it like, oh, spy tech had like, oh yeah, like 20 million in cap he didn't spend this year. No, I get how that's aggravating, but you also got to think how many veterans, like we talked about before, who's going to come in on a cheap deal when they can go to
right?
Philly or they can go somewhere else. They're not going to come to Las Vegas and be miserable with the Raiders. One guy did that, in case anybody forgot, Jermaine Pratt, and after 5 weeks, he was like, "Get me the fuck out of here." So,
Right? I mean, Amari Cooper come
yeah,
back. He played 3 weeks in practice. Hell no.
exactly. So
Hell no.
if you're not giving out job security deals where you can stick around 2 3 years, which I think would be just a bad move from Spy Tech, you're not going to lure
Right?
vets. So it is what it is. You're stuck with that money left out. I mean, whatever. I guess it's more money in Mark Davis pockets at the end of the day. Is what it is.
Yep,
But
yep. He don't have
I
enough of that.
yeah.
You don't have enough of that. But yeah, man, I want to keep you on here all night. Let everybody know where to find you, and then we'll get a couple more questions and we'll bail.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, I want to talk about it on here because I didn't at the time when I first came on the show. So I started my own analytics platform called Suited Football, and basically, what if you guys go to it, you go to suitedfootball.com, you will see analytics of, and mostly because I've been really busy, I've mostly only been able to do Raiders games, but so you'll be able to see Geno Smith and all this. What I do is I watch every single down from every single game, even games that I don't end up recording. I still watch them, and I'm going to the site right now so I could explain it kind of in real time. And I have a whole stat line. I'm talking 22 stats. There's 22 separate stats. If you go to suitedfootball.com and you go to stats, you'll see it. They're called true stats. They're called true stats because these stats, what they do is they basically record stats in the form of what should have happened instead of what did happen based on the quarterback's ball placement and the decision making. It combines two of those things. So that way, if we're talking about like a shitty drop or the defender did something, or not the defender, or the wide receiver, whoever he's throwing it to, did something stupid, it's not on the quarterback, then the quarterback is probably going to get credited for a completion for that. So that
Yeah,
way, and that sort of thing. Or conversely, if the receiver makes like a catch that never should have been a catch, he makes like a fucking stupid catch, probably not going to credit the quarterback for that because why
yeah.
would you? That's a shitty throw. So it's things like this, and the things that I got are like I'm looking at quarterback's efficiency. So efficiency, this is also important. This isn't just about whether it should have been completed or not. This is whether the completion would have kept them on schedule. Because at the end of the day, say it's like second and 25, you complete a 2 yard pass. You completed a pass. What the hell does it matter? You wasted it down,
Yeah.
You should have got yardage back. So these are the things that I'm looking at. So I'm looking at efficiency in the pocket. I'm looking at efficiency on throws deep. And if they should have been completed on medium passes, on passes outside the numbers, passes over the middle, passes out of pocket, all these things. I got a whole bunch of different stats and a whole bunch of different analytics and
Okay.
things like that. And hope everybody goes to check it out. What I want to do by the end of the year, because I'm not going to get to every team, unfortunately, I'm too far behind. I'm going to do at least all AFC West teams
Okay.
for sure. So you can kind of compare and contrast. Spoiler alert: Geno Smith will probably be the worst of them all, but at least you guys can.
No.
At least
No.
you guys can see some things. Like you can see a lot of efficiency and different things like that. What happens because somebody's already asked in the chat, like, has Geno Smith gotten sacked when there's play action plays? Well, I can't really. The stats aren't going to tell you that, but the stats are going to tell you how efficient Geno Smith is, for example, when he does play action, how efficient he is when he's out of the pocket, which he's actually very efficient, surprisingly, when he's out of the pocket. It will show
Yeah,
you
but that's been his game as like his whole career is getting out of the
absolutely.
pocket, standing in the pocket. He's not that guy. Like,
It's going to show you like in interceptions. By the way, are for all interceptions recorded. It's if it should have been an interception or not. So if it's a dropped interception, it counts as an
yeah,
interception. I don't care about that shit because that's bullshit. That I'm sick of that shit. You look at a guy, he only had 2 interceptions, but there were like 5 times that he could have ended games on a loss because he threw a pick right to a guy's chest when
yeah,
they dropped it. Like I'm not playing that shit, right?
yeah.
So we got all that stuff, how they do in the red zone, how they do in the 2 minute drill, how they do in clutch time, which is basically fourth quarter when it's a close game, whether they have the lead or they're down, how they do on third down. And like I said, it's what should have happened based on the quarterback's decision making and ball placement. So guys, check that out, suitedfootball.com. and really happy with how that's going and all the support we've had so far and all this stuff. And I hope everybody keeps checking it out.
Oh yeah, make sure you send me the link on X, and I'll put it in the description for this video. So
Absolutely, man.
get people to go check it out. But yeah, man. So couple more things. I'll have you back on. I'm sure one of these times. Next couple weeks we'll kind of do a little draft special. Talk about
Hell
who you
yeah.
see coming out, who you got your eye on. I really want Cassius Howell to be a Las Vegas Raider. I think I think this dude with his strength and his get off and his bend, and I'm not comparing him to Myles Garrett, but I'm just saying one of these
I
days, if he you keep working and getting those muscles up, like man, that he got elite bend. I see, right? I just see that he can bull rush, great handwork, got all kinds of moves, and man, if he's on the board when the Raiders are picking and he's not a Raider, I'm going to be very upset. But I'm always upset with the Raiders. 50 years of this shit, so I guess just join the club. But let's get some predictions. What do you think the Raiders win another game this season?
This is my thing, man. This is my thing. The top talent of Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty, I think, is too much to lose every game. I just think, and Max Crosby and AJ Cole, which sounds kind of crazy to reference a punter, but the amount of games that the Raiders should have won based on how they punted is probably like a good 3-4 games. Like
The amount of games that we lost when our team started at average field position of 18 yards. 18 yards, average starting field position. You start at the 18-yard line, and we're losing games, bro.
It's insane. But I think there's too much top talent to lose here. And I think they probably beat the Browns next. They play the Browns next week, right?
Yeah, with Shador.
I think that they probably win that. I mean, the Browns have to be worse than the Raiders, right?
I seen a lot of watching that game when Shador came in. It wasn't great, but I seen the ball getting pushed down the field. I seen the offensive line look like they were blocking way better than they were for Dylan Gabriel. I think they might have a little spark going on there. And Shador, even on one leg is better than Geno in my opinion right now. so when you have a guy that's going to come in and set the stage for this is I was posting on X like 6 days ago. I don't know why nobody I can't get no views on X. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I post shit like 6-7 days ago, and now everybody's posting it in 100,000 views, 500,000 views. I'm like, bro, I posted that 6 days ago. Nobody said nothing, but I posted. I was like, this is going to be this is what the NFL's been setting up for all year long. Shador facing Tom Brady, his former mentor that they didn't draft, right? All the Raiders fans wanted Shador. What better way than to make Shador look like he should have been a first overall pick than to come into Las Vegas, destroy the Las Vegas Raiders, and make all the Shador fans happy that, we should have drafted this guy in the first round. I told you he's the greatest quarterback. I can see it now. Like the Raiders, I just don't see beating anybody, not even the Browns, because what is Geno Smith going to do against Myles Garrett? Come on. This dude is folded like a lawn chair every time somebody gets near him. I have not seen Geno Smith one play, and you say you watch a lot of film, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I have not seen him one play stand in the pocket and deliver the ball and take a hit.
Not many, for sure.
I have not seen him get hit 1 year delivering the ball in the pocket. I've seen him curl up into a ball. I've seen him turn his back to people and fucking lay down. I've seen him try to slide and trip over his own knees. I've seen everything but him stand in the pocket and deliver the ball downfield. So I don't know. Unless they, go with Kenny Pickett, and which is not any better. I'm not saying Kenny Pickett is even is even close. But I feel like, if they want to win a game, it's got to be Aiden O'Connell, man. You got to give him a shot. Just throw him in there. I feel like we're looking at the offense, right? Looking at Brock Bowers, looking at these guys that you constantly see, open. Geno's double clutching, making second guesses. If it's Kenny Pickett or Aiden, somebody that's just not double guessing themselves could maybe help this team. But man, I just don't see any wins any wins coming the rest of the year. We got the Browns, then we got the Broncos, then we got the Chargers, then we got the Texans, then we got the Eagles. Dude, they there's it's gonna get uglier and uglier and uglier the rest of the season, and that's saying a lot.
It's it's kind of like a double-edged sword. If the Raiders lose out, because I know, like, everybody thinks of it like, oh, first overall pick, that's amazing, and obviously there's truth in that. But it's like,
not if you look at the Raiders' track record.
but it's like, dude, you look at you talked about it already. You hear Ashton Genty talk about the situation. This dude already sounds like the losing culture has infected him already.
Yep.
Like, and Brock Bowers goes through that another year. Max Crosby seems to be immune to it somehow. I have no idea how, but how long can he be immune to it? Like,
he's a psycho like me. He's a psycho like me, bro.
And like, man, it's a double-edged sword, because that's how to get your good guys to just. Thing is, like, it's like the Lions, man. I always reference the Lions. When Dan Campbell came in, the first thing that he did was he got rid of everybody. He got rid of the best players who were there, who were just used to losing. Like, and it's not even that they were.
But doesn't everybody do that? I mean, the only person I haven't seen do that in the last 10 years is Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, because he had his quarterback. He kept the receivers, right? Because he had a bunch of first-round picks.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, everybody does that, bro. Everybody does that. And that's been my thing with Pete Carroll is what is the future, right? If he does get it together and wins a couple games this year, screws up our draft pick, and then say we have a good year and maybe go 500 or make the playoffs next year, then what? Then you're done. Your 3 years is up.
Yeah.
You have a new coach coming in that's not going to like any of the players you brought in. It's not going to like any of the development you developed, and you're going to blow it all up again. So it just has to end right now. It has to end right now.
I hear you.
There's no reason to keep this facade going.
I hear you, and this is why the Pete Carroll hire just never made sense to me. I actually think, like, I forget what grade I gave Pete Carroll. Like, I might have given him a C+, because, like, at least there was some positive and, like, culture changing that could have came from it. And everybody was on me. They're like, this guy has never not won. How could you say that? How could you say that? I say that because the Raiders are so far from being competitive, and they just hired a 73-year-old guy. This is not a guy that if he does well, he gets a second contract. He's going to be 76 maybe even 77 by the time his contract's over. It's done. He'll be lucky if he knows who he is in 4 years. I mean, that's a little, I might be stretching it, but you know what I'm saying.
No, that's probably about right, though. I can see it like this year, from the beginning of the year till now, his stuttering is worse. His slurring his words is worse. Like it's gotten worse, bro. The wrinkles in his face, the sagging in the eyeballs. Like, dude, it looks like he aged 5 years in this season already to me.
Yeah,
if you go back and look at the beginning of the season, look at him. Like, I was like, bro, this dude looks good for 74. Now I'm like, this dude looks wrecked.
I was like, this guy looks 84. Yeah,
this dude looks wrecked. You ain't 74, bro. Yeah, it's bad, bro. So, prediction, man. Do you see Chip Kelly making it through the year or being here next year?
Honestly, yes. I would be surprised if not. I feel like this is why I say that. If you give a guy highest paid coordinator in the league money, this is not just we're going to see what you do the first year. This is like, you're our guy. Now, maybe if he starts sucking it up a second year, you're halfway through the second year, and you might be like, all right, this is bad. This is bad.
But how do you justify that when they said it's win now? Like we just talked about, you only got 3 years, bro. So like,
I hear you. I hear you, man. But I guess the thing is, me personally, I don't think Chip Kelly's a bad coach. I think he's not a particularly great coach.
He's not good. He's not bad.
Yeah. So, like, the thing is,
he's a great college coach, bro. He's just not an NFL guy.
the thing is, like, I do see how on passing plays he's scheming the guys, and he's not calling like bad passing plays necessarily, but it's like he doesn't have the personnel to adjust when he doesn't have the personnel to run what he runs. You know what I'm saying? And what he runs is like we already talked about. I'm better than you. Try to stop it. Everybody stops it. So I think he's bad from that perspective. Absolutely. So I don't think he's gonna turn around a team like the Raiders. But I think if you're the Raiders, honestly, I think if you're Mark Davis and you're Tom Brady, you're probably thinking, and if you're John Spytek, you're probably thinking about this like, this guy, the Raiders have had awful quarterback play. And I'm not saying anybody in their organization thinks Geno Smith is bad, but I don't think anybody in the organization is thinking Geno Smith is playing well this year. Besides Pete Carroll. Besides Pete Carroll.
Yeah. What are you talking about? He's elite. Like G is good, bro. I think G had a great game.
Besides Pete Carroll. So I do think these are things that they're going to consider, and they're going to be like, yeah, like, well, you know, and again, it's not like AP, because you can say the same thing about AP. People might be like, yeah, but AP didn't have a quarterback. They got rid of him. It's like AP was not the highest paid head coach. Like, they didn't invest that much into him. It was kind of just
$5 million.
Exactly. They literally rolled the dice with him. It was just like, why not? This is the Chip Kelly thing. Is not, why not? The Chip Kelly thing is we invested all this fucking money into him. So that's why I say I would be surprised if he doesn't at least make it into the next year.
Yeah, I think.
No, I think Geno Smith is bad. By the way, to answer the comment, I think Geno Smith is bad. Absolutely. I'm not arguing against that. I'm just saying I don't think Mark Davis thinks that. I don't think Tom Brady thinks that. I'm putting myself in the eyes of the organization, not me.
I feel like Tom Brady does. I think Tom Brady had already known. Like, he didn't want Sam Darnold, but he took Geno over Sam. I think he just gave in and was like, Pete, you ruined yourself.
That's another thing when I talk about how like the GOATs are just so bad at like assessing talent. It was well noted he didn't want Sam Darnold, and now it's like you put Sam Darnold on this team, assuming Sam Darnold plays even close to how he's playing in Seattle. This team is significantly different right now.
I mean, we've seen Sam Darnold against the Rams defense, right? Against the Steelers defense, he was trash. When you got pressure on him, when you made him uncomfortable and got him out of his comfort zone, he was the same Daniel Jones, the same damn Sam Darnold that, bounced around from the Rams to the Jets. Like, that same dude. Like, the decision making under pressure, you have to. It's another if quarterback, right? If your offensive line is good, if you have a number one receiver, if you have a good tight end, if you have a defense, right? These guys are good, but there's just so many of those in the NFL right now. Like, so many, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Sam Darnold's playing pretty well, personally.
I mean, he's playing well, but that offensive line has kept him upright pretty good. Like, and if you have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who is playing lights out right now, like this guy's
that is true.
5 or 6 percent yards separation like per play.
I do gotta say though,
dude.
I do gotta say that Darnold and JSN combo might be like the best in the NFL right now, wide receiver quarterback, and a lot of that does have to do with Sam Darnold throwing some damn good passes to him.
Yeah, some damn good bullets.
But
that just goes to lead me back to, like, the quarterbacks getting overlooked, man. Guys, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Mac Jones right now, like, Jacoby Brissett, like, not playing greatest, but he's putting them in the positions to win. Like,
Jacoby Brissett just broke the record most completions in a game ever.
I know, what, insane. 47 or some
40,
shit? Like
47.
And Geno was right behind him, bro, with 42. Geno was right. They're like, damn, maybe we can get a Jacoby Brissett out of Geno. Let's throw it 40 times.
Oh, man.
God.
That was insane.
40 times with Geno, bro. They threw with Aiden O'Connell 40 times. Anytime Aiden O'Connell threw over 30 times, we won. Anytime Geno has thrown the ball over 30 times, we have got destroyed. Not just lost, destroyed. 31-0. What was it? What was the Commanders game? I don't even know what the score was on that. The Colts game. Anytime he's thrown the ball over 30 times a game, we got just lit.
Absolutely.
Lit. But yeah, man. So Pete Carroll, what do you think on Pete Carroll? And then I'll let you get off here. I know I know your wife had doctor's appointment or whatever today. So,
Yeah, she did. She had a few actually. She had like three. But
whew,
for yeah, oh
hope
dude,
everything's good.
she's busy today. Dude. She's women, man. This is the thing. Little quick rant, really quick. The fundamental difference between women and men. Women are so calculated about this stuff. They're like, well, if I'm going here, I might as well do this too. I might as well do this too. And it all makes sense. Men are just like, I don't care about schedule and stuff. I'll just ride the wave. Whatever happens, happens.
Right. I got
I
a
admire
doctor's
that.
appointment 3 hours away, but shit, I might as well schedule one tomorrow and the next day too, and
Yeah.
drive back there 3 times. Like,
Yeah, I admire the shit out of that, but I'm not like that at all. I'm not that kind of thinker. But anyway, Pete Carroll, man. This is what I think about Pete Carroll. Doesn't even matter what happens, man. It does not matter what happens with Pete Carroll. This is a wash that just it doesn't matter, man. They brought Pete Carroll in to win now. He's not going to win now, and that's and I'm not even blaming the dude for that matter. Not that Pete Carroll has been particularly great, but I mean, how could you look at this roster and really expect anybody to be able to win now? Is the bottom line. So, with that being said, how could you look at this roster and expect anybody to win now? Whatever happens with the 74-year-old is whatever happens with the 74-year-old. Ride it out, don't ride it out. It doesn't really. I don't think it makes much of a difference, honestly.
but with that being said, if you look at this roster, how do you expect anybody to win games? Right? We've had the roster in some areas might be better than last year, and you know I think our 4-13 schedule was basically came down to a lot of injuries. Like you missed Max, 7 games, right? Hobbs, missed 5-6 games. Epps out for the season. Malcolm Kuntz out for the season. I think we had a team last year that could have competed. Barring a couple little things go different, right? This year, it's not even close, man. It's not even close. Like,
So I will say though, if you maybe it might make the most sense to get rid of Pete Carroll year one. And the reason why I say this is because the Raiders are so in like I said, this isn't a rebuild. Like it is a rebuild, but there's nothing to rebuild. You gotta build. There's nothing to get rid of and restart over.
They
There's
got rid of
nothing
them all last year.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
year.
Exactly.
They got rid of everybody that was drafted a Raider, pretty
There
much.
so there's this so what this means is you have these guys like Max is a great asset for sure, but Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty I think are the real gems if you're a head coach because these are the guys if you stick around for 10 years here, they're both probably sticking around for 10 years. Genty being that he has a lot of wear and tear already, maybe closer to 8. But still, you got a lot of years with these guys and they're gems, they're premium players at their positions. So I think if you are a head coach, this team is so bad right now, and you already have those gems, you can build everything else in your vision. Like it's already torn down for you to start. So I do think that is attractive, very ironically, because a lot of people think of it like, oh, but the roster's so bad. That's true, but if you're a coach, like I said, that means you can do whatever the hell you want with it. It's wide open for you. So, and also that means if you are bad the first year as a first year head coach or whatever, who the hell can blame you? Looking at this team, it needs more than a year. So it might make the most sense to move on from him right away. But I just think it's a wash. It's whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's a bad wash. It's a $45 million loss wash because 15 million a year for 3 years, and then you got Chip on the other end for another three at 6 mil. Bro, you got 18 there and you got 45 there, bro. You had like $70 million in head coaches for the next 3 years. So if you do move on, Mark is still paying out of pocket like he did for John Gruden, like he did for Josh McDaniels, like he did for Rick Bisaccia. Like he's still got to pay for all these dudes. Like they just, I don't know what if it's better to release him or cut him. I mean, obviously he's got to go. He's nothing he's done has been even close. But I mean, is it going to do any good? Like, who's going to want to come coach here? Like, you might have, if you get a top, 10 draft pick, if you get like 5 or 6 somewhere in there, you might entice the coach because, look, I got Brock Bowers, I got Ashton Genty, right? I got, JPJ, we got DJ Glaze, which, blah, blah, blah. We got some guys. We got Meredith who can play guard, right? We got some potential guys. We got Jack Best, right? You have, you got some guys that can make some plays on the offense if you just get a quarterback, right? And I think that might entice, some of these coaches to come here. But other than that, if you fired Pete Carroll now, like these guys are just looking at it going, man, they've had 5 head coaches in 3 years. They've had 15 offensive coordinators and 18 quarterback coaches. And
I
like,
mean that's the thing too that fans don't really think about is the business side of it. If you're a head coach and you see they're firing a head coach every year, you're kind of looking at that like maybe I don't want to go there. So there's definitely a lot of layers, man.
that's
There
why that's why Vrabel didn't take the interview.
yeah. At the end of the day, dude, the only and this is like kind of sucks to say, really, but the only way to say is the Raiders did themselves in, and it's going to
Yep.
take a few years to get out of this.
Yep. I mean, when you trade a top 10 quarterback in Derek Carr and you get nothing for him, you expect at least minimum. I mean, minimum as a you don't even have to know football. You could be a baseball fan, but no, you got rid of your franchise quarterback that was a top 10 quarterback. Arguably, but I don't know how anybody would argue that. And you got nothing for him. You didn't cut him. You didn't trade him. You just let this man walk when you had no option in the building for him. like, and you expect this team to just hire a guy like Pete Carroll at 74 years old and okay, we're gonna win now. And I'm one of those dudes. Like I drank the Kool-Aid. I was like, man, this dude is exactly what we need, right? We need somebody with stability that has the blueprint on how to win and can show these guys how to win games because that's what we're lacking. But then you go around and you just start moving guys from position, putting guys in other positions and positions they never even heard of. Shit, and you're like, you start here and you go sit on the bench and watch this guy not know how to do his job. Like, so yeah, it's been a horrible year. And as a fan for 50 years, I'm 50 years old. My whole life I've been a Raider fan. This is by far the ugliest, the worst year that I've seen. And even the years that we ended up 2-14 or 3-13 or whatever, they still competed, right? There was still you had even a bad quarterback, he still sometimes was good. Like even the bad offensive line, they still did enough to have your quarterback be able to make plays. Like we never got beat 31-0, man. We weren't getting blown out, 56-3. Like we weren't having those problems with AP that has never coached football in his life, right? So when you look at everything that's gone wrong, really Pete Carroll should have been fired weeks ago, in my opinion. Like
He never should have been hired. I mean, there's
yeah,
really
you
no
should have
way
never
around
been
that.
hired. But when you're talking about, competing after the bye week and you're still like, oh, yeah, we're hitting on all cylinders. Every week you have a great practice, but every week you have a horrible game. Like, I don't think this dude really knows football anymore. I think he's just stuck in the past.
Well, I also the thing also that I don't really blame Pete too much at the same time is because like this team is so how Pete coaches as it's proven to show to have results, right? Like it's proven. He's won a championship, national championship, and he's won a Super Bowl and built a very competitive Seahawks team. But key word in that is he built, and there's nothing built right now at all by any stretch of the imagination. So the it's why it's so mind blowing to me that this would Pete Carroll would even be an option for the Raiders because it's like how did you look at this roster and think like and the thing is too what's even more mind blowing is again I'm not blaming John Spytek at all because I think he's done really good at not tying money into long term deals but then it's like if you really wanted to win now you definitely re-sign Spillane. You probably bring back Trayvon Morrig because that secondary has been absolutely
Nate Hobbs,
dismantled.
all of them, like all of them, just because they've been on the defense for so long.
Right. So, and the fact that he didn't shows that there is a clear agreed upon because Spytek, they're on different timelines, but Spytek is not just like, not communicating. They're in constant communication. They're still on the same page, although they're on different timelines. So this was all like, they thought it was the best decision not to do this, not just long term, but for now, because Pete Carroll is only here for now. That's it. And so it's like, dude, how did you think like you went into this even thinking like that you weren't going to resign these guys how did you think that you were going to win now like it how did Pete think that? How did the Raiders think that? Now, granted, when Mark Davis hired Pete, it's not like he knew that they weren't going to resign any of these guys. But still, even if they did resign these guys, what do you think the difference really would be? They'd probably be floating around 500. They might even be a game or two above 500, but I don't think they would look dominant by any stretch. I don't think they would really look like a win now team. I think they'd be lucky to be there. And it's just kind of mind blowing to me, man. The whole thing.
Yeah, I think from the jump, I think Pete was the last resort, kind of like Getsy was the last resort on the offensive coordinator, spot last year. I think they swung for the fences with Brad Johnson or Ben Johnson. He said, "I don't want this shitty ass job." They interviewed Clint Kubiak. He said, "I'm gonna go be an OC in Seattle." That Pete Carroll was the only one. He was the only one that was willing to be like, okay, I'll take a chance at 74. I'll come in, I'll turn this team around, and I'll get my guy Gino, who's shitty a bag, and have him make more money in 1 year than he's made in his whole entire career. and then we'll ride into the sunset. I got 45 mil. He's got 71 mil, and shit, we're good to go. We're good to go for life. But yeah, I think it was just the last resort. And, the Chip Kelly thing bobbled me too, because last year they tried to get Chip Kelly and he said no. And then this year he's like, okay. So he wouldn't come coach last year, the offensive coordinator with AP. And now all of a sudden he's like, yo, 6 mil. Okay. Yeah, I'll do it. So you had to pry the dude and overpay him, like drastically overpay him to get him to come here. And he's failing. So it's just a horrible look, man. Shout out for the $2 holler Raiders. But yeah, it's just a horrible look in and out of the franchise from top to bottom. I mean, you bring in all these scouts, right, from Philly. You bring in these scouts from Tampa Bay. You bring in all these guys. What have they done this year? Who are they bringing in to help this team that's falling apart? Where are they at? Where are these dudes at? It's like,
and this is where the thing is, I tend to defend Mark Davis in many areas because the claims are always like, oh, he doesn't care. It's like, if you
he'll write a check for anything.
He's trying everything, and I'm not saying they're all smart decisions by any means, but I'm saying he's trying everything. So I almost do feel bad for the dude, to be honest, although the hire never made sense. Josh McDaniels' hire never made sense. AP hire made a lot of sense. It didn't work out how anybody thought, but that was a good hire. I'll stand by that, as bad as he was.
I liked AP. I thought he really got the shit into the stick, man, with bringing in Tom Telesco. I thought he had the team motivated, right? This was the only team, the second team in NFL history to have 2 games where they had 0 penalties in the same season.
Yeah, man.
I mean, that's when you see signs. That's why the signs with Aiden O'Connell. When you see signs like that tells me that you have some kind of discipline going on. That only the second team in NFL history, AP, has 2 games with no penalties. Man, that means these team is fighting for them. They bought into what he's to what he's picking up, and then you hear all this shit about, oh, they're not happy with the practices, they're not happy with this, they're not happy with that. I really think if we could just fire Mitchell Renz, I think this team would be way better. This dude, he's ran everybody out of the building, bro. He ran DC out, Gabe Jackson, shit, like it doesn't matter, bro. Like everybody. He's like, move on from this guy, fire this guy. This guy needs to be cut. We need to cut this guy. And it all happens. And this is where we at. So, but, man, I appreciate you coming on.
Bro, it was a blast. It was a blast, man. I love talking ball with you.
We'll definitely do it again. And, next time we'll go more in depth instead of this shitty ass team. We'll try to talk about some of these players. Because, I think guys like Jack Best, we didn't get to talk about. I want to talk, more about him. So, we'll schedule this. I'll get with you on X, and we'll try to do it again here very shortly. But there's, I think there's pieces to this puzzle that can help for the future. And, if we draft well this year, I think, a turnaround could be not next year, but maybe 2 years, because there are pieces on this team that, guys make plays. It's just when they do, they get taken out. So
I
if,
agree with you, man.
if you make a play and you get benched, bro, like how you gonna do anything good? So, but yeah, man, let everybody know where to find you. All your contacts, where to hit you up.
Just you can hit me up on Twitter, or I guess X as it's called, at Alex Monfreda. It's just my name, at Alex Monfreda. And yeah, appreciate everybody joining. I appreciate everybody talking in the chat with us, and I appreciate Rebel for having me on and talking some damn good football.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, maybe next time we could talk about some real teams in the NFL and not just the Raiders. Maybe we'll change subject, like talk about some of these playoff teams or something. But yeah, man, I definitely appreciate you coming on talking ball. It's always a blast when you're on. I always like being in the comment section on you know on X. I'm always trolling a lot of people, so sometimes I'm trolling, sometimes I'm not. But just when I get bored, I gotta have something to do. So.
I
Uh,
hear you, man. I hear
but
you.
yeah, always good content, man. Always good takes. So yeah, definitely appreciate you on. You're more than welcome anytime.
Appreciate you, man. Definitely be back. It's always a good time.
All right, man. You have a good night.
You too, man.
All right, man. I appreciate the couple people that rocked with us through the whole entire 3 hours, man. A little longer than it expected. But there you go. There's another perspective. Just another person that feels Gino was not it. Chip Kelly, could be it, but it's just not it in the system. So analyst, a guy that like me, is always in the stat books, always watching film, always going over shit, and it's just not clicking for this franchise, man. It's not clicking. So something has to change. We need to bench Gino, fire Pete Carroll, whatever it is has to be done. Has to be done, man. So appreciate everybody in the building. Y'all have a good one. Much love. Raiders. Peace.
For the 200th touchdown of his career. This is one of the 89 touchdown receptions. He was 1 for 10. And he's done it a couple of weeks for the 200. For the that is amazing. Yeah, they go and they kick and they dunk and they go short and you think they're not going to go deep. It's like Jerry Rice can't go deep anymore. Then boom, they hit you with the deep one. They look for a second option going to be Christ. Let's go on. This is that's the attacking unit. This is the offensive line.